Hello there, look at us coming in 2 minutes early because that's the way we roll.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Hello, hi everybody.
If you can hear us and see us, this is the traditional time where we panic about not having AV knowledge and being the wrong kind of nerd for this.
I really love that we have this to celebrate every week.
Every week.
I feel good about it.
Like, are you... Can they hear us?
I think they can hear us. Yeah. We need to say that at least 4 times because this is podcast gold for us to ask if the audience can hear us at least 5 times.
Yeah, well, you don't want dead air.
No.
That's scrub radio territory.
Right. I do want to fill the time until it actually gets 9:30, but yeah, so we're just going to take a low key.
I like how our viewer number just took a nose down. You're just like, oh, right, it's these idiots.
Yeah, cheers.
Awkward. I guess we could start.
Yeah. Welcome aboard to talking about werewolves tonight. So we did intentionally.
Who are you?
Well, let's start with the introductions, and then we'll walk through what's not here.
We need to have some sort of format.
That's true. Hi everybody, my name is Brian. I'm Anasty Apocalypse in Mind's Eye Society. With me, as always, is.
I'm Bucky Abramovsky, and hopefully I might actually wear an official hat one day. As a board of director, voting is open. Vote early, vote often.
So this is talking about werewolves, where we're going to spend 2 hours talking about LARP and werewolves and other Mind's Eye Society games that may be coming in the future.
And other games.
And basically just...
I think at a certain point, one of the things we said last episode that we want to talk about is where do we want to go with the format, because there's still lots to talk about with Werewolf, obviously, and there's always going to be things to talk about with Werewolf as long as the game is running, where there is a Werewolf game. But that said, there's also a lot of other things going on, and I think people... have things that they may want to discuss about the upcoming genres and, like, Changeling that's coming up and, different things that they're psyched about. So, I don't know, just some thoughts, and I want to get feedback from you folks.
But the big thing you'll notice is that we didn't actually say that we were going to have a special guest tonight. Not only do we not have a special guest, we also do not have Iggy.
Yes.
This is, we blame Dystopia Rising for this. There was the big DR event this weekend, and they were late coming back, and to their shock, they discovered they were in agonizing pain. So...
Yeah, they were tired, they weren't feeling it.
Yeah.
Our guest... Well, I guess we want to say his name, so we don't want to heap scorn on him for this. But sent me a text from the car. It was like, we are really late. I think they were still in Pennsylvania, and I was like, okay.
Okay, yeah, no, we're good. We're good.
You guys are not going to make it straight, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine. You'll just have to put up with the dynamic duo.
Yes, less of the engaging group talk and more just us desperately filling time and trying to sound relevant. So let me walk you through the basic topics today. We're going to spend some time on Auspices. We're going to talk about auspicial roles.
We are. I mentioned it repeatedly.
This is actually going to happen. This is not a lost episode. We're really going to spend some serious time talking about Auspices.
Yes.
After that, we're going to talk about whatever the hell we feel like. And then we're going to talk about the Changeling the Dreaming Alpha, which a lot of us are really excited about. Even though it's not technically Werewolf, we did warn you we were going to talk about it, so I hope you do indulge us.
Right. There's going to be a couple other things I want to touch base on. I think the improving gaming section of this episode, we're just winging, and there was one other thing that was just on the tip of my tongue.
Iggy really is the glue that holds this team together. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, nobody is here to yell at me constantly,
That's
other
true.
than you.
Well,
because
yeah,
I'm used to getting
I
it from
pick
two
up
people.
the slack, and usually I'm playing you two off against each other, and now I have to...
Being yelled at by one person just makes me feel just a lot less special.
That's fair. So before we move into it, the first thing we usually do is talk about what's new in the last couple weeks in the world of LARPing, Mind's Eye Society, and Werewolf. What's new in Werewolf Land? Things are fairly quiet after the August event. A lot of folks are beginning to investigate what the hell was going on, as I spoke of last time. Some of those proxies are going on at the local level now. We're also slowly rolling out more of the mysteries regarding what's going on with Eater of Souls. Some of you are going to see that in your local games soon, if you haven't already this weekend. So that's really cool. Basically, Werewolves rolling along pretty nicely. We're pretty happy. The audience is not helping us along. It's good.
Oh no, I got Woot the Auspice episode.
Yeah,
finally. I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time. Yeah, a very long time.
So as far as I can tell, nothing else really happened in MES in the last 2 weeks. So I think that's
it's been super quiet.
It's been super quiet. Yeah.
Have you ever seen it so just sedate? It's like crickets out there.
No, yeah, it's so mellow right now.
Yeah,
so really,
because when I think of orgs and calmness, right now I'm thinking MES.
I'm thinking we're
first and foremost.
Yeah. So really, nothing to add on that topic at all.
I was gonna save that to the improving gaming thing.
Oh, we actually gonna talk about it? I thought we were just gonna
lampshade it.
I thought we were gonna lampshade it and move on.
I don't want to get into a huge amount of specifics because I don't know everybody involved well. I've met, I think most of the people once, twice maybe, and I don't think that gives me the authority to be like, this is going to be like me spitting straight talk and real talk and, truths and all that stuff.
Which we usually like to do, but usually like to know what we're talking about first.
Well, it's... Right. Well, that's the other thing. Like, it's important to me as an individual, and this isn't like a campaign thing, but I do like to know what I'm saying and have some sort of accuracy and handle. And what I've gotten is, a tremendous amount of other people bringing me up to speed on what happened. I think there's a lot of people who are legitimately upset. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement, and I hope people vote. You don't have to vote for me. You can. If you like me, vote for me. If you don't, still vote. That's the important part. Because a lot of the turnouts for these, even though it's to the general membership, is like super duper low.
Is it? I hadn't seen the numbers.
The last time they were proposing various like structural changes. I think only like 10 or 20% of the people voted. Because a lot of it was really wordy and they didn't really care. I mean, this at least is an election. People talk. There was like a Q&A. It was a little bit more than like, these are the proposed changes, yay or nay.
Yeah.
So it was a bit more dynamic.
Right.
But still, I want people to actually vote. There's a lot of good folks out there. I was torn on who to vote for.
I really enjoyed the Q&A. For folks who didn't check into the Q&A, it's still there. I would definitely take a look at it. There's some good conversation there.
Yeah, I only plugged our podcast stream a few times. And that wasn't...
Every time you mentioned YouTube or the podcast, I was just like this.
Yeah, or the stream. Well, I mean, I'm not plugging us, because we make negative money off of this, because we keep buying different pieces of equipment, and then we don't charge anything. We don't have a Patreon, we don't have a Kickstarter, we don't have a FundMe, or any of the Web 2.5, like, sort of presence. But I do feel like the stream has really been educational for everybody involved, and in talking with a bunch of people, I wouldn't get to talk to West Coast gamers or Southwest gamers or Northwest. Basically, anybody who isn't in the Northeast bubble. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they feel about things, pretty much, but for this stream.
That's good, and it's good for me too. Yeah, absolutely, it's good to talk to people, get engaged.
Right, and we get to see deeper and further.
So are we? Arun. When you think about werewolves...
Let's talk about werewolves.
I mean, Arun is in a lot of ways the easiest to talk about, because when people think about the classic werewolf, they think of your giant furry murder machine, and a lot of newer players are attracted to the idea of Arun, and a lot of other players think that Arun do too much too centrally and kind of take over the show from everybody else.
I would almost start a half step further back.
Okay.
The roles of the Auspices didn't really get redefined, but they were clarified a lot in BNS. And I think one of the big things behind that was the Auspice skills. I mean, it really does just point in sort of red letters what you're supposed to be good at. Like, what is in your wheelhouse as a Ragabash, as a Arun, as a Galliard.
Well, this is one of the things about the Auspices that I think a lot of us missed. I wouldn't say missed, but definitely before BNS Vampire really got active. I don't think any of us realized how important raising those trait numbers were going to be for the skills. Like that extra skill point, it's huge. I think a lot of us didn't sense that right away, and it actually does sculpt a lot of what the Auspices are good at. Is just that simple one trait. I mean, it's pretty huge.
Now, the irony is that one of the social roles of our own is of leaders, which they're very fond of talking about, but they don't get a bump to leadership. That's Philodox. And I think that's telling, because their leadership capacity is one of and I think the gifts reflected this well, it's one of like a combat tactician or a general on the field, like, or even a much lower rank, sergeant, lieutenant, something like that.
Right.
The pack-based skills where you see a lot of our own gifts. I let everybody move. I forgot what that gift is called, but it lets everybody take some free steps. And they get a lot of things like that don't just let them kill something or be better at punching or knocking people down, though they do get a lot of those. They get those tactical gifts that you would expect from your tactical leader. So I thought that was a good revision, and again, the way they broke down gifts and affinities, I do like how it ended up reflecting those roles. And so that's good.
I'm just pulling up the Auspice affinity gifts.
Yeah, well, one of the things...
Fill the air.
No. One of the issues with our own will always be that they tend to end up in charge. And that could be a feature or bug depending on what kind of... Especially if you're another Auspice or what sort of game you're playing. Because being better at combat can often make you better on the mound. And if you're better on the mound, you can be in charge. So it is a warrior-led society, sort of, but this isn't like, as opposed to some other fictions and some other genre, they're not just a warrior people. It's not just one-dimensional. Werewolves exist in a caste system of fanaticism, for lack of a better term, and the different castes have different roles. So while Aurons have this combat role, they're not, say, members of the priestly class. They're not theurges. Talking to the gods and interpreting their will and the rites isn't part of their leadership. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So
why did this just jump back like 30 pages?
I don't know if I could if I can answer that. The inner workings of
Hang on.
of your
We had everything pulled up nicely, and then it just jumped. Hang on. Come on.
You'll get back to the chart eventually.
There is the chart. Okay. So let's go down the Auron gift tree.
Sure. Fight or flight. Pretty. Yeah. Pretty solid. Fight me or leave. It's good. It's, baby ultimatum. Predator's Insight. Don't see that used a lot, but it has its uses. Razor Claws is one of those wit spec, get free weapon qualities type things. Resist Pain. It's good if you don't have stamina focus, and a lot of our own won't.
Yeah, no, that's fair statement.
Yeah, generally a lot of them go strength. They get a lot of advantage from strength that they don't get elsewhere, or dex. Depends on the Auron. Vie for Dominance, pretty good. I guess we're just rapid fire listing all of them.
Well, we're just kind of talking about them as they strike our fancy. I still think
Surround the Quarry is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, Surround the Quarry is great.
That is a great example of an Auron having a gift that reflects their social and martial role.
Surround the Quarry might be one of my favorite gifts in the new game, actually. I think Surround the Quarry is just a great way to really use the live action environment. To really use the space. It encourages you to not sit there. Actually get up and RP.
When you see people physically fan out with gift usage and then surround somebody,
that is intimidating.
Right, and that enhances the experience of the entire LARP. I mean, that's the point of the LARP, as opposed to
just using Surround the Quarry for intimidation, not even if you're immediately starting combat. But just being like Surround the Quarry, and suddenly you're all of a sudden your 5 murder bots are right next to the person you're talking to.
It's pretty nice.
That'll get somebody's attention. Pursuit, Marshal's Instrument, Invoke Delirium, Falling Touch. I mean, a lot of the level 2s I actually haven't seen that much in play. Falling Touch and Invoke Delirium especially.
I like Falling Touch, but it isn't used as much by werewolf Aurons. I've seen it used by a lot of the more athletics-intensive Farah, because they can just blast you into another area code. Because there's... Well, I think it's the Ananasi and the Korax, and I think even the Ajaba have, like, plus to athletics. They get athletics bonuses, and they have a bunch of powers that work with athletics. And if you're spec'd in the gift, you also knock them back, I think, as many steps as you have athletics.
Yeah,
and suddenly you're cheap-bombing people.
Did it really do it? It did it again. It fucking did it again.
You know, you might have a cursor somewhere that when you hit like this...
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's jumping.
So you have to actually click on the page
it's okay.
to get your cursor up there.
Alright, it's fine. Here we go, we're back.
Just
enjoy our amazing AV performance here.
We are not produced by anyone. If anybody wants to throw bags of money at us to improve the show, we will take them. As the bard said, pride goeth before the fall. Was that Shakespeare? I think it was.
No, I think that's the Bible.
One or the other.
Alright. Pursuit is really good. Pack Tactics. Well, let me do this. Let's see how happens if I do this.
Yeah, it brings you right there.
Yes, Pack Tactics. Just jump me back? No, I can't jump back, though.
No.
That's okay. Pack Tactics. That's a nice one. Didn't mean to go to it. Podcast Gold.
Yes. So yeah, the gifts are reflected there. So how do you RP that? Well, they tend to be the most martial, as well they should be.
Yep.
Their auspice skills are like all the combat ones, so it's melee, brawl, firearms, and athletics.
Yeah.
I believe are their 4 choices. Don't even get dodge. That's Ragabash. So they're good at the hitting, and they make that abundantly clear. So their role is a martial role.
And in some really combat-focused games, our runes are going to really take the focus, possibly over some other characters. But the thing is that our runes on their... Do keep... God, everything's blowing up today. But you need the other auspices, and a lot of the other auspices in specific combat situations will be stronger. Your Arruns are really good at arranging the field of battle and punching the hell out of things. And they're really good at that.
They're good at hitting.
Yeah, and they have some manipulation of the rage track built in. They've got,
Because the game is somewhat dodge bias, winning those ties because of one trait is less likely.
Yeah.
Than in some things, like, you're...
There's a huge dodge bias built into the structure of the game, yeah.
I think that was intentional.
Well, it's got to be. It's way too prevalent not to be.
And so it can feel frustrating when you're, the person who's supposed to be a badass, and it's super difficult to hit anybody. But the people who aren't built to be a badass have an even harder time of hitting anybody. So that's also kind of a thing. Yeah, there's a lot of room for RP. I've seen it played as, like, kind of close to the warrior monk type thing, because all werewolves are angry, furry killing machines, but they are also all sort of dual, deeply spiritual beings that are fueled by gnosis and a connection to Gaia. So
I really have the least to say about the Aruns. They're so self-explanatory, and I don't know. I feel like people get Aruns just walking in the door.
Yeah,
but I think if you look at our auspice numbers and the way they've been played, I think Galliard surprisingly has taken a big hit this chronicle. A lot of people just aren't playing Galliards, and a lot of people who do just don't really get their gift suite.
I'm not that surprised. Well, I mean, let's go on to the next auspice. What would the
Galliard.
Next one be?
We're going down.
Okay, so Galliards. So, okay, first of all, there's an out-of-game onus on being a Galliard. You're going to have to talk to a lot of players. You're going to have to be social. You're going to have to tell stories. And so right off the bat...
It's an immediate bar to entry that the other auspices don't have.
Right.
Because there's an out-of-character element to being a Galliard that the other auspices just don't have.
Right. And a lot of people, not everyone is dripping with savoir-faire, public speaking skills, and things like that. So it's a little bit daunting. Everybody's comfortable playing somebody with Brawl 5. I've never seen somebody like, I don't know if I can RP that. Right?
But it's really hard to stand up and awkwardly tell a story when you're not comfortable being a storyteller, and then have to be like, well, that was performance 6, so you love it.
Yeah, that was right. That was the greatest thing. You have No human has ever told a story as good as I just told you that story. And you have to roll with that.
Yeah.
That's rough. The other thing is a lot of their stuff has such an emphasis on downtime. A lot of the Silver Witness token usage,
and a lot of their stuff is like buffs and counter buffs and howls and the howls and response gifts. And the problem is like, and a lot of time we were talking about the Shadow Lords. We mentioned this too.
Where you want one in your pack, you don't necessarily want to be one.
Right. You definitely want to have one there.
I would love to have a Shadow Lord in my pack. Like, regardless of what I think about Shadow Lords, them just being able to, like, tear the Shadow and open up another possible 2 slots, it's money. It's amazing. It's great. But being a support character is the same in any game, whether it's a role-playing game, an MMO, an action RPG. Being like the Z DPS.
Yeah. That's in a lot of ways, an optimized Galliard is very similar to a Z. Why don't you explain what a Z DPS is for those who don't know?
Okay, so the conceptual... I play a lot of Diablo. I like it. It's a fun game. If you ever want to play Diablo, hit me up. And I've been climbing the monk leaderboards this season because I thought it would be fun. So I got up to like 160 something out of the top 1,000 in North America. I feel pretty good about that. If I go 1 or 2 greater lifts higher, I'll be in the top 100. Cool. One of the popular builds for not solo climbing is 0 DPS, and the concept is this. So Brian is gonna play the DPS. He's gonna do all the damage. He's just like your Arun, right? If I do things that are DPS, we'll have 200% DPS. I mean, this is some really fuzzy math, but this is generally the accepted thing, right? But because of the various power suites, he can do his damage, plus I can make him do more damage. I can also pick up on healing. I can help build density. I can manipulate enemies, our friends, give us all, like, rage, protect us, and give him the ability to just keep carrying that weight and end up doing more than 200% damage. He'll be able to do 3 times the amount of damage as opposed to just doing twice the amount of damage. And so, like, the current optimal build still, which a lot of people are sort of upset about in a 4-man, is 2 people are DPS and 2 people are support. And it's awkward in a 3-man, or 3-person, because it's still 2 support.
Shit, Lord.
Right, it's still 2 support to 1 DPS. You don't actually need everybody doing damage.
Right.
And I think that's also reflected here, especially because there's only 2 physical slots, 1 social slot, and 1 mental slot, pretty much per person you're fighting.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be a Galliard and you're going to have these gifts that you're going to be using on your everyman, a lot of your job is being that 0 DPS. You're not really being the DPS. You're howling to give everybody near you rage in combat, or you're using some pretty great healing gifts, right? They have access to the 3 for 5 healing gift. That's great. 5 health levels, like no chop, boom, just do it. It's huge.
They also have things like Defense of the Heart, View the Battlefield.
Even as I say that, one of the problems with that is the sort of ongoing issue of the game, which is Awaken Minor Spirit. And if you Awaken Minor Spirit Galliard, you don't really need Galliards. Or even Awaken Major Spirit Galliard, you don't really need Galliards. A lot of the Galliard gifts are perfectly done just by spirits, and that's kind of a problem as well. So Inspect, Lupuses, and Theurges are covering a lot of ground with an intelligence focus or breed.
Well, the funny thing is the Galliards are and have always been my favorite auspice to play. But that's because I enjoy the storytelling aspect. I enjoy getting out and talking shit.
You enjoy storytelling?
I know, it's weird.
I know.
But
I never would have seen that.
The problem is if that RP doesn't do anything for you, they can be... Now, I can't say problematic, but I think they are definitely... God, the weakest is the wrong word, but I think you covered it nicely when you talked about the spirit thing. Is that a lot of what Galliards can do in a combat situation can be replicated by a spirit.
Yes, and because is a ZDPS role, a not doing damage role, being a support character role, is already kind of feels on the back seat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're the cleric in a D&D game who's got to keep everybody alive, or if you're the healer in any MMO, doesn't matter what the MMO is, or any action RPG, if you've got to keep everybody alive, you can take pride in that. It's a pack-based game. If you can be replaced by NPCs and powers that basically make you obsolete, then it's even more like, well, I mean, what am I really bringing to this game, especially given the other sort of downsides?
Note that they're not even talking about Mez/CC, which is huge. Doing damage is cool, but taking somebody out of the fight with a single chop is huge.
Oh yeah, no, they do crowd control. They do a lot of good stuff. But a lot of it is very supportive. I mean, it just is. And so that's going to winnow your numbers, because it doesn't appeal to everybody.
And really, I think as we go through the auspices, I think we'll see they're really the only auspice that, if you don't enjoy the out of character element of RPing what their social thing is, well, in a lot of ways you're behind the curve with them.
Also, look at their auspice skills, right?
Yeah.
It's performance.
Yeah.
Crafts.
Yeah.
Lores. And what was the other one? I forget what their fourth auspice skill was. But crafts is basically a downtime skill. It might be science? No, it's not science. Crafts is a downtime skill. Lore is, I mean, it can be useful in session, but it's not the kind of thing that you're busting out with chopping wise very often in a game. Certainly not in a combat. And again, performance is that sort of in-game, out-of-game dissonance of where, like, even if you have it at 6, there's a certain expectation that you can at least try to fake it at 2.
Right.
Nobody expects actual players to do flips.
Well, that was the great challenge for me playing at the Northeast Showcase event last month, where I'm playing Brone, is having to play someone who when he decides to whip it out and tell a story, he's supposed to be the greatest storyteller in the nation. So it's like,
yeah,
that
fun.
No problem. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, but I also had to get a little bit drunk first because it was like,
that was one of the things that I sort of enjoyed. I don't know. Can I reveal which auspice skills which NPCs has, or is that not okay?
That's fine.
Because Thistlecharr is incredibly taciturn, and lore was an option, I thought it was really amazing that one of the great Galliards was doing the other great Galliard job, which was knowing everything as opposed to saying everything.
Well, I think that's actually a great example of demonstrating in RP the different ways you can approach Galliards. Is that both Thistlecharr and Brone are Galliards.
They were, yeah, and I don't think most people know that.
But they played it. Me and Laura played it in the exact opposite directions.
Precisely so.
Where Brone was really going for the Celtic bard sort of angle, and Thistlecharr just knew everything and was very, very laconic.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah.
I think that's a mode of exploration of Galliard that I think, because one of their great builds is Crafter, so you're not going to see a lot of them, or you'll see it in an alt tune. But another one is Lores, and it's not always easy to play, and it does feel a little bit small ball coming from Vampire, where you can have like 17 Lores as like a Shamasei or what have you, to just having Lores at 6. I mean, you can get them higher, but... yeah, they don't all have to be talky. They can do a lot of other things. I feel there's more room there than they're stereotypically given.
Comment. Craft doesn't really have a place in this system.
I tend to agree.
Well, in Revise, there's always the joke in Revise that you can get something up to, like, if you built the right Toreador, you can get something up to, like, Crafts 15. If you really, really went fucking crazy with it.
This pie is a Crafts 15 pie.
If you take a bite, you will die of joy.
Right, your heart explodes out of your chest, and you're just like, that is the Jungian ideal of pie.
Right.
Here, if you make a gun with 2 qualities, it is the same as every other gun with 2 qualities.
Right.
You can make super fancy stuff that's required to make claves and grand claves and fetishes and stuff, but you're still going to win a third of those jobs. Like, even if you have the skill at 1 and a hammer, and just like, I got a lot of downtimes I'm not using, and Let's say you fail 6 times
This
in a row.
is my master. This is my
masterpiece, and you duct taped like a box cutter to a broom handle, and you're like, doesn't really matter. It still has all the qualities it has to have, and you hand it to somebody. You're like, make that into a fetish.
I think it's really the only auspice we're going to talk a lot of shit about. Again, I love Galliards, but that's what we have to say about Galliards.
Galliards are great, but the way that I think people, the social pressures on a Galliard are one of the things keeping their numbers down. And I think that the only way to help with that is to encourage people to play different types of Galliards.
And I think it's also very important for players to be supportive of that player who's maybe, he's trying his damnedest. Like, give him some love, man.
Right.
Like, the guy who stands up at your moot and really tries to tell a story, and he's really trying. He's really going for it. Like, support him. That's part of being a better community.
Yeah, if we're all willing to imagine that we can become, 8-foot-tall furry killing machines who are all ninjas. I mean, really, what combat characters aren't rocking max dodge and max brawl? Mm-hmm. That's... Nobody pauses the game and is like, I'm not buying it. Like...
Empathy, linguistics, lore, performance of their skills, by the way.
Oh, linguistics. Oh my god. With a merit, you could speak in upwards of 2 more languages.
Philodox!
Philodox are probably...
We've gotten through 2.5 hours. We're making good time. Let's get through the rest of them. We can do this.
I think we covered Theurge already in another... with a...
Yes. But we'll get there. Let's do
Philodox.
This is yours. I mean, you got the
Philodox are werewolf lawyers and judges. I mean, Ragabash also have a role as werewolf defense lawyers, and sort of as prosecutors, kind of. But the judges of the nation are generally Philodox. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion...
And in many ways, it is a nation of judges.
Yes.
Like,
in my opinion, they are the Auspice, which pretty much should be in charge all the time forever. They should be able to rise higher in a social or political system than anybody else because they have the auspice skills for it, they have the gifts for it, they can make demands of people. Their gifts all back that up. Socially, there's there's give and take with being a Philodox. People are going to look to you for, especially if you have rank. Rank plus Philodox equals soft power in a way that I don't think any other auspice gets. If you're an Elder Philodox, just saying the words Elder Philodox and then stating your opinion, people are like, oh, wow, okay, cool. I mean, that's what the great and the good say. So that's almost policy. The downside of that is that the punishment aspect of them has, and this is true and revised as it is now, punishments are rare. They need to happen more often, and they need to have teeth, and I still don't see it. It happens. Everybody has a story about in their games that such and such got punished or what have you. But on the whole, I've seen more extrajudicial killings and jumpings than I have actual just straight up punishment rights.
Well, and that's also the whole problem with just getting people to challenge in the first place. Like, making people get on the mound to settle their shit is a huge challenge.
Yeah. So punishment rights are a weird thing. I don't know what can really be done to fix them. This is sort of the problem with going off on this tangent, is I'm not sure what my advice would be. Yeah. Oh, is it? Well, you punished my character, so now I, the player, don't like you. That's a risk. That's a problem, and I think that the only... See, here's the good part of desensitization you don't hear about so often. These things are less sensitive if they happen more routinely. Mm-hmm. If people got and lost monikers on the regular, then somebody giving you a moniker wouldn't feel like a betrayal of your friendship.
Their gifts, they have a really cool gift suite. I really like the Philodox stuff. The things like Subpoena. Subpoena is an awesome
Philodox,
gift.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Philodox.
For a moment, I kept thinking Galliard.
No, Philodox.
Their gifts let them do Philodox stuff.
Which is great. Their gifts really do support what Philodox need to be doing.
You could build a whole character around Subpoena.
I love Subpoena. It's one of my favorites.
It's just amazing. It's like, no, we need to talk. You need to come here. Mm-hmm. And as opposed to just like a summon mechanic, it's like, no,
you've got to summons to it.
Right. You can faff off a bit, but there's tremendous downsides to not listening to the Philodox, and they can back that up, which is nice.
Yeah.
Burden of Doubt's okay. I like it. I still think Marshall's Vigilance is not. I don't think it's great. There's a lot of Philodox Metis overlap, which I kind of like because it's about punishment and shame and things like that. They still get sense balance, mind, like there's good stuff there.
Yeah.
They have a good role in combat because the social and mental stuff that they can do with leadership and intimidation are really good powers. I mean,
and each level of their gift tree, they have something that really pushes up what Philodox is supposed to be doing, up to and including Geese, which is it's not the most powerful gift in the world, but it might be one of the cooler ones.
Well, they made it.
Not a death sentence.
Yeah, they made it playable, which for a while Geese was it was a nuclear weapon that you had this one tool that you had to use in all situations as an elder Philodox, and that was Geese.
Well, in my mind, Geese should be at least as powerful as Ultimatum, which I don't really think it is.
What do you mean Ultimatum? The level 2 Garu power? Or
the Grawl, yeah.
Grawl power?
Yeah.
Ultimatum, well, yeah, level 5 should be more powerful than level 2.
I mean, Ultimatum is so amazingly good, and Geese kind of falls into that same category of I'm going to make you do something, whether you want to or not. The problem is Ultimatum is so easily gamed.
Well, that's the problem with any power that you phrase in a way that requires role playing on the part of the victim is a great way to have 2 experiences in a LARP Both
quote that shit. Yeah. That's a good one.
Both yours and the victims are pretty much not going to have a great night, and I think that's also one of the problems with like the entire path of corruption. And there's all these powers that like sound really cool on paper, and then you're like, oh, my victims have to RP this. Now your target acquisition is less dependent on appropriateness for the scene, and more is like, is that player
going to yes and me?
Right. Are they game to actually roleplay, or are they going to view this as an inconvenience and then murder me later because they're not happy?
Right.
That's the downside of Philodox. The upside of Philodox is they're great at like things that they need to be super great at. They get great auspice skills. They have great gifts. They get to basically they make great sept alphas. They're truth catchers and masters of challenge. Like you want Philodox in so many different roles. They're not suffering. I don't know what the number breakdown is, but I imagine there's plenty of Philodox.
Yeah.
Certainly more than there are Galliards.
I think we have nothing more to say on Theurge. Yeah. I mean, you all know our feelings on Theurge.
Theurges are great. They're the priestly class, and I really wish that was played more.
Not the Pokemon class?
Not the Pokemon class. I mean, they're also the Pokemon class, but all lupuses are the Pokemon class to a greater or lesser extent, as are most werewolves, because you can all talk to your gods now. But it is specifically their job to be the intermediary between the heavens and the lay people and the other castes. The Arns aren't acting within your auspice, which is still part of the litany. And not acting outside of your auspice means that you should respect that if you're an Arun and you're in charge, you will still defer in spiritual matters to the Theurge, and on legal matters, for lack of a better term, to the Philodox.
And the funny thing is, almost everything in Werewolf can be summed up as either a legal matter or a spiritual matter. Yeah. So moving on, Ragabash.
I think that leads us inexorably
into Ragabash.
Ragabash.
I mean, after the Galliards, I think the Rag are just awesome. They're so cool.
I play them. I love Ragabash. They have a lot of roles. I think that some of the traps that people fall into is that Ragabash are just contrarians, and that's not entirely the case. I don't know how many folks out there have watched Longmire, but there's basically a whole episode about a Native American who does the questioning, the cultural questioner thing, riding their horse backwards, doing the unexpected, questioning everything.
Right. Which is so important to avoid groupthink and destructive social dynamics, which the Geru Nation is all about. I mean, if you wonder why the Ragabash have to be an entire auspice, it's because the Geru have painfully, and the role that the Ragabash have, is the Geru seem to have painfully learned how bad they are at making decisions. Like, if you look at the history of the Geru, they're just great at looking at a situation, sizing it up, and making the exact wrong conclusion.
Yes.
And that's something that carries over in IC play a lot.
One of their jobs is speaking truth to power. I mean, I had a great conversation with somebody 2 ranks higher than me, and I was like, well, I'm doing my job. Like, and they're like, you're going to lecture me? And I'm like, I'm not really lecturing you. I'm being a Ragabash. Like, I'm just saying that this is what it is. I'm calling a fig a fig. Like somebody has to say this, that this is crazy, and that this could lead to a way worse scenario than you're talking about. And you need to take a minute to think about that. It's like, please don't punch me. As far as can they be fighty? Absolutely. There's tremendous overlap between Ragabash and Arun.
Which is surprising, but works.
They get a lot of the real brutal stuff that if you get hit with, you're boned, the Ragabash gets. They get trick shot, they get hobbling strike, which can be, in and of itself, the death sentence, even though it's not the greatest chop in the world. It's not animalism good. Yeah. It's still pretty good, because if it hits, they're boned.
Why does... Wherever I click, it takes it off the page. Alright, 2
I think we could skip it.
Yeah.
Now, but you don't just want to be contrary for its own sake. You want to have something meaningful to say. They actually make decent scouts now because they have some sensory
Well, that
power.
was always a joke.
Right, send the Ragabash to scout, and it's like, the Philodox have all the sense gifts. I don't know what you're, like, if you saw the movie Pitch Black, ask Riddick, does it look clear? He's like, yeah, it looks clear. The guy gets up, monster jumps out, they have to shoot it. Well, and they're like, how does it look now? It looks clear.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone in Revised, and all those Revised Chronicles all those years, would always be like, well, we got to send the Ragabash to go scout. And the Ragabash did not have the gifts to go scouting. And they just didn't.
They had gifts to break into a place.
Yeah.
They had gifts to be really stealthy. And then they could report back nothing. They could be like, I could be in a room full of obfuscated vampires. I don't know. That's not an auspice gift.
As for a Ragabash not having wolf senses, everybody has wolf senses.
Just buy it.
If everyone has...
It's 6 XP instead of 4. It's a tax. Just pay it.
This is
Also, as a lupus Ragabash, I have wolf senses.
But this is a note we hammer every time it comes up. Is every character should probably have wolf senses. There's absolutely no reason not to.
Wolf senses in Blur is almost like the... Wolf senses is one of the most powerful powers ever written, because it's basically a huge swath of auspex and a bunch of other stuff. It has an activatable. It has a synergy merit. It combos with a bunch of other powers.
You can fight in the dark.
Right,
it's so good.
It's absurdly powerful. Just and while paying 50% more for gifts can be really daunting for an elder gift that's out of auspice or breed.
When we're talking about something
from 4 to 6 is nothing. That 2 XP, just whatever. That is a third of your game session. If you showed up for 2 hours, just think about it that way. That is your 2-hour investment above the cap. Buy the gift.
If you're MC1, spend 5 of those XP on wolf senses.
Yes, exactly.
Just because even if you're not in combat, like it's just all the situations you're going to be in outside of the cairn, wolf senses will help you. So I just strongly recommend that to everybody.
Yeah, I can't imagine not having it on any sheet.
Yeah. Cheap Chop, Hobbling Strike, Bridgewalker, Thousand Forms. Thousand Forms is another amazing gift.
Well, Bridgewalker is a great way to never get got. Thieving Talons of the Magpie is good. Artful Dodger is underwhelming, but fine.
Trick Shot. Don't forget Trick Shot.
I mean, Trick Shot's the level 3. It's going to let you do good stuff. And it combos with so many builds. And it's not just like Black Furies. It's not just Glasswalkers. And it's not just people with silver tolerance. It's
even if you're not a gun bunny, it's a gift that's like sometimes you just need to do 2 damage to something.
There's a lot of baddies not chopping and just hitting is pretty great, especially considering that what you're shooting can have any 2 weapon categories that you basically just have a bandolier of guns. Just go full. It's the Boondock Saints. Just open the coat and have like 16 pairs of revolvers. Like you've got your knockbacks and you got your spread. You've got anything that you need for that situation.
I had a we're gonna get to this when we talk about Changeling, but we had, and this is not really directly Werewolf, but we had a 5 in-air playtest. 5 Changelings attacked 1 Toreador. The Toreador had Trick Shot, his gun had Knockback and Incendiary, he had Celerity 5. It was hilarious. It was just, yes, that's great, Changelings. Go away, go away, go away. It's just the ability to just
hit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, yeah. You mean, yes. Ridiculously blood intensive for the vampire, but still really, really good. Use fly power. You have a quality? Yeah.
Oh no, Glasswalker gun minis are great.
I mean, that's assumed. Yeah. I mean, they better be good.
They're just one of the 2 tribes that have an off switch. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much them and Red Talons.
All right.
Is you have a theory who's like Force Transformation, you're stuck in Hamid as a Red Talon, or Force Transformation, guess what, Glasswalker, you're in Lupus.
And I feel like Ragabash in a lot of ways speak for themselves, so there's very little to add. So let's take a question. Bucky, pop quiz. What gifts should a kinfolk have? You get 5 1s and 2s. What do you get?
It's an extremely open-ended question.
Outside of wolf senses, they say.
I mean,
depends what kind of kinfolk you want to be. Obviously, there's no right answer to that.
Well, I mean,
unless there is.
I mean, there is and there isn't.
Okay.
Wolf senses, yes. Maybe even blur, because again, think about it as if you were a ghoul. Would you want all the Auspices and obfuscate for the cost of 2 out of your 5 things? I mean, maybe. Unlike a vampire, you don't have to actually take all the obfuscate or all the Auspices as your ghoul. You can just take 1 of each. Don't take Razor Talons. That's true. I don't think you're allowed to take any of the transformative stuff, but who knows? Honestly, it depends on the type of character you're playing. Persuasion is pretty cool. Are you going to be doing a lot of social RP? Are you going to be doing a lot of downtime stuff? I mean, depending on what the answers are you going to be an influence person? All of these things can change your decisions on what your 1s and 2s are going to be. The good news is that so many of the 1s and 2s are amazing. And also one of the answers has to be Awakened Minor Spirit.
Oh, yep, right there. Awakened Minor Spirit.
Yes,
yep.
I mean, it's... See, this is
until and unless the Awakens are at least a little bit nerfed.
Until that gift is nerfed, it's de rigueur. You basically have to have it, or at least be near somebody who has it. And the thing that turns that off are Elder Power, Theurge powers. That's it. I mean, other than that,
Spirit Ward.
And as pointed out by other players, you can scuff it with a simple action, probably, and at least a standard action, or they could just trick shot it. There's a million ways to turn that off. It's not a legitimate counter. It's fine to have the entrance of your Cairn, and I can understand how it's kind of cool like that, but Awakened Minor Spirit is an unresolved issue of this game.
I can't believe I never thought of that. Somebody puts up a
You're like,
Spirit Ward.
Way to waste your action, bro.
That is so good. I never even considered that play. That is an awesome play. That just counteracts Spirit Ward.
Oh, no, I was talking with Joe Perry about this at length. And I agreed with him immediately. I'm like, absolutely. If they won't let you do it with a simple, do it with a standard. If they don't let you do it with a standard, do it with trick shot. Just be like, I don't care what it takes. Just turn it off immediately and have your healing cloud still there.
Yeah.
Whether it's your heal, and it's generally a healing cloud, because once you have Awakened Minor Spirit and time, or there's a liberal ST who tells you there's a lot of gafflings around, or the enemy's dumb enough to have gafflings around, or gafflings are your enemy, then just take them over and be like, you're all Galliards now. Just zoom around at rank 3 healing people.
You know, that's one of the big dynamic...
One action.
One standard, yeah.
Okay, sure.
To put it up.
Oh, yeah. Still.
Yeah. One thing that really kind of bums me out about BNS Apocalypse is not bums me out, because it's just a change. Is that your primary day-to-day antagonist goes from being spirits to Fomori. Because spirits just aren't a viable day-to-day antagonist.
Until you get to like really high stock level,
yeah,
and then you could say that about anything at really high stock. I can make a stock 12 crocodile that'll probably fuck you up.
Sure, but that's
But that's not difficult.
But when you're talking about 1 to 5 stocks, really Fomori take the role of the filler adversary that Spirits did in the past. It's just changed.
And then to double back on some of the things we've mentioned in other episodes, those Fomori aren't just filler. They're a lot of thriller in there as well, because they will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Especially en masse.
Yeah. Which Fomori are all about. That's like their whole deal.
So I'd say the 2 to 3 that you have to have as a kinfolk would be, if I'm playing a kinfolk, regardless of type, I would probably want Wolf Senses, Blur, Awaken Minor Spirit, and Persuasion.
Okay, well I don't think they can say we didn't talk about Auspices now.
No, we talked about Auspices.
Yeah, sounds good. So before we move on to talking about the Changeling Alpha, are there any werewolf-related questions from the Peanut Gallery? We'll give you a couple minutes to think of some questions.
Well, and we have a fair number of viewers. Mm-hmm. Who's interested in Changeling? Like, out of you folks out there. But that's dead air. Everybody's furiously typing.
Yeah.
One of the things I do like, that this is both talking about Werewolf and about Changeling, because they baked in local Kith?
Mm-hmm.
Local Kith type.
I'm a big fan of that, yeah.
You have the Nunahe.
Mm-hmm. The Nunahe just walk in now, which is great.
If you're a troll, but you basically want to be a Nunahe, you're a Stone Giant. If you want to explore different cultures in respectful and tasteful ways, you have the tools to do that. It doesn't all have to be, no offense, Bri, all Irish all the time.
I'm happy with that. I mean, as we'll go through the alpha, we'll see that they definitely made an effort to de-Irish a lot of the Kiths, which is not a bad move. Ireland's a very small island, and it's a very big world. And just because we're everywhere doesn't mean...
Well, you had a diaspora.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with both people at this table.
Yeah.
We're just posh to whatever we are in the diaspora. Oh, now the comments are coming in hot and heavy.
Yeah.
So let's see what the videotape is.
You were talking about antagonists in Apocalypse. Vampires known for their NPC faces. Do you have any plans to introduce notable faces to fill out the roster of named bad guys? It feels better to take down a known as a player. Well, the big thing that we have on the table that we've been...
I don't think I can talk about this.
Let me set the table, and it'll kind of set the ground rules for what you can say. We actually do have a lot of these antagonists, but these antagonists have been intentionally moving in the background. We do have a whole gallery of the board of directors of Pentex. And
well, that's also true. They are all named.
Mm-hmm. They all have agendas. They've all been...
They're all sheeted.
And they've all they've all really been doing stuff in the background. It's just they haven't been caught out by the players yet.
And they're not just defined by their sort of stereotype. Like, they are... because I got to help work on that, because I love cranking out NPCs, apparently. They're defined also by their personal goals, which aren't always in perfect alignment with Pentex's goals, which I think was one of the sort of themes of Pentex that gets lost in the shuffle a lot. That this is, you've got a lot of baddies, but just being evil does not a union make.
I think one thing we could definitely have done better, though, is that we may have been too subtle with the Pentex Civil War plotline, which is a lot of what the national narrative that the players will be seeing right now, of especially the Enderon stuff and the stuff with the
I think it's too deep a cut.
The false bid. I think we made it too deep a cut, because I think we were working on too slow a burn. Because the idea was to have Pentex be the primary antagonist year one, but I think part of having to do that is we probably should have been less slow with the rollout of the antagonists. That is something we've been discussed internally, because we have these really cool guys hiding behind the scenes, but that doesn't mean anything to you as a player, because you have no idea who the fuck they are. I mean, a couple players have probably heard of the Digger, and we've given...
Fucking love that guy.
And we've definitely given players names.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't even say guy. I love it.
We've definitely put a lot of the stuff in player hands. I think the names and agendas of all the members of the Pentex BOD are in player hands, but they haven't disseminated as quickly as I would like. So we'll probably start working that out, probably in the weekly plot cookies we give out to local games. So we should probably start pushing that.
I would love to see it. I mean, I don't want to, like, fucking toot my own horn, but I put...
Well, why would that ever starve you? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I put a lot of work into those characters to make them in a way and a manner that would be compelling, that would be scary, that would be really difficult to either fight or kill in different ways, as opposed to everybody just being a combat monolith.
Yeah.
there are some members of the board of Pentex who will frappe you and your friends, and there's others who, if you actually were in a room with them, you would probably kill. Like, just... It would almost just be easier to just sort of be like, describe how you murder this person.
Next question. Can you say anything about the awakened powers and possible fixes that just don't break it? I'm actually a big fan of, I think that's Lee. Lee's response here, and I think this is you, Lee. If it's not you, correct. No, that's Canadian Mathlete is Lee. Edenon says, easiest fix for Awakened Major is not to allow them to use Friend in Need. Easiest fix for Awakened Minor is to put Awakened Major restriction one at a time. I think those are sensible fixes. I'm not saying that's what we're going with.
Well, it's having your occult and spirits, or potentially up to your occult and spirits, that made it kind of loosey goosey, because it also was like, how many spirits happen to be in any given place? Are you taking them over environmentally, or is it only opposed? That's how many you can take. Are you only popping them up one at a time?
Yeah.
If it's one at a time, I think it's a pretty good fix. It's still good. It's still great power. I would love to have a pet Galliard, rank 3, following me around, healing me. But at least it's one healing me. It's not this nano cloud.
Well, I think the big consideration is when we're making adjustments in play, you have to make sure you don't break the power so much you destroy character concepts.
I thought the easier thing to do would be just to nerf healing.
The healing nerf is something we've discussed as well. Yeah.
It's just you can only be healed by one type of healing per scene, whatever. Something like that. It could be draconic, or it could be a little bit milder than that, but I think you shouldn't be able to be healed by 5 talons in a row, 5 spirits in a row. That's the sort of recursive garbage that makes it so that, like, just doing regular damage and having a stand-up fight, impossible.
Yeah.
It also makes actual werewolves, like Children of Gaia, who take a healing gift, and then the merit that makes that healing gift better. If you're only going to get healed once with a gift, that adds value to that character concept, which actually requires a player, as opposed to making them dispensable and replaced with a different gift.
Yeah.
And that's where I lean, because I want players to play. I don't want NPCs to play.
That's a fair argument. I seem to remember that using the Black Spiral Dancers in this way wasn't something you were going to do at Chronicle Start. I'd love to see some big names to make folks nervous when their name gets dropped. That is, to some extent, correct. The goal was to make Pentex the primary antagonist of the first year, just because I felt like that was the most needed, because Pentex has so long been a joke. But the way BNS Werewolf is designed, we have to create Pentex as a primary and sellable antagonist. So, and to some extent, we went stronger Pentex to open with. I do think as we move into year 2, I think you're going to see a lot more BSD development, along with other antagonists.
There is overlap.
Yeah, there's huge overlap. But I did think it was most important.
I think a plurality of the board is BSDs.
Sure. But when we're talking about BSDs, I think we mean just, like, hives and, like, zigzag and all that shit. But I just thought it was most important to establish Pentex early as a legitimate threat, because I think that's something that needed to be done. Question. Lots of questions around Eater of Souls and Shazir. Can someone align what we know I see with out-of-character lack of knowledge? So I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I'm going to assume that, like, if you
I think that's something a player should do. They should do, like, a state of information right now, if they're up on the listservs, and, like, have the info of, like, this has been in the zeitgeist and on the list long enough that your character could reasonably know these bullet points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable?
Well, it's something the players have been doing in some of the tribes and in some of the breeds. But as
it'd be nice if somebody disseminated that to us in the laity.
Yeah. Right. Information about... I did actually, in regards to this, I did actually send something out to the VSTs regarding specific lores regarding Eater of Souls. If you have lores that you think might be applicable to Eater of Souls, and there's 3 that should come to mind immediately, which would be Actena, Wendigo, and worm creatures, spirits, whatever. I would talk to your VST, because we did give that information out, and I think that would help you. As for Shazir, if you have the lores, you pretty much know what's in the book about Shazir, which is pretty much right there, I think. So there's no huge secrets about Shazir. Shazir is, while subtle in action, not subtle in plan. Let's see.
It's very much a baby anti-Helios type of situation. Is a big meanie. But not of the big meanie type that I hate. Like, what's that dumbass who wanted to snuff out the sun? the Night Master. I fucking hate that guy. What's your plan? Breakfast? Snuff out the sun? There is no step C. We're destroying the sun. It's like,
I never.
How does this help anybody's plan particularly? There's a sun? We should destroy it. Alright, Night Master wants to destroy the sun. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't expect to see Night Master make a return appearance. In my headcanon, he was destroyed last Chronicle, and he is dead in all possible timelines. The wheel has turned back to the 6th stage once again, and Night Master is still dead. He was killed last time around.
I just want to say for the record, that's not an NPC I wrote off. It's not
No,
an
that's
NPC
it's pure canon NPC.
I know.
Pure canon NPC.
It's just not some... I just think it's intrinsically stupid, and he's intrinsically dumb. He's basically a Simpsons joke. From time immemorial, man has dreamed of snuffing out the sun, and I'll do the next best thing, blot it out.
Speaking of Night Master momentarily, I do think it's amusing, and this is definitely not a plot point we're ever going to hammer home, because it's a very different Chronicle from the last one. But if you do read the ending of Last Chronicle carefully, it is clear that our current Chronicle exists in the same continuity as the last one. But that's...
At different points, sort of.
Well, it's a different turning of the wheel. You're running a wheel of timing on it. But that is a point that will never come up, I see. It's just...
Nor should it.
Nor should it. Because we're not doing that... Because the cycle is broken, which is baked into BNS. But that being said, somebody said I'm changing the Lost player. I know nothing about Dreaming. Can you sell it? You know what, Lee? We're going to try. Let's talk about Changelings.
See, I feel weird here because I'm a person who, in the old system, I noped out pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I played
a lot of the
LARPs.
nope elements are gone.
Yes, and thank God for that. There's no aphrodisia. Mm-hmm. At least I don't think.
No.
I mean, I skimmed it.
Mm-hmm. Why don't we just what we're gonna talk a little bit about the basic structural changes from revised to what we're seeing in the alpha. Then we'll talk a little bit about Changeling and Dreaming, why it exists, and then we'll talk into specifics in the alpha. So yeah, the big things, the changes. Yeah, Childlings are gone, which was hugely needed.
Let's open with selling it. I think that was the direct question.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Brian has lots of opinions and loves this game. I'm a lot more removed from Changeling. I played in some LARPs. I kind of enjoyed it. What I like about it is much like with... Okay, so my favorite genres, in order, are Wraith, Werewolf, Vampire, Changeling, Ham Sandwich.
Mage.
Demon
doesn't even make the list?
No, it doesn't. I just didn't get into it. I didn't like it. I thought it was very... it wasn't for me. And each game, in my point of view, let me explore different things and different role-playing experiences. So the most personal for me was Wraith. Wraith is a game about your character, and ideally played, it's about delving into real RP situations. Things like death are largely off the table, and it opens up a lot of opportunities. I've been working on a homebrew Wraith BNS, and I would just post to whoever works for BNS and be like, here, just steal whatever the fuck you want. I just want this to be in existence more than I want credit. Werewolf lets you tell stories of high epic combat against monsters bristling with tentacles and too many mouths and like all this, like the world is in the balance stuff. Vampire is ideally a game of personal horror and politics and sniping, and it's a game of de-evolution. For Changeling, you have two elements. One I liked, one I didn't particularly like, but a lot of people do. You have more just adventure. Mm-hmm. There is a sense of whimsy there. What I liked about it was I forgot the term for it. It's not magical realism, but it's like gritty fantasy. Mm-hmm. Gritty fantasy Changeling is something that interests me. How do you operate, even with all this whimsical nonsense and mythologies? You're playing a person who has been put in a very bizarre situation, given a alien duty, in a world that is deeply messed up because it's full of vampires and werewolves and stuff.
I think the hardest thing to run about Changeling is the fact that the chimerical world is whimsical and at times absurd. But to the but the problem is that the adorable unicorn over there could just murder you. You have to take it seriously, despite the fact that it seems silly.
There's a lot. For me, it was also a very weak antagonist in Revised. There was a lot of like.
Which we're gonna get to. They've made some changes there.
No, I know. I don't want to be pithy about it, but there was a lot of like, if you're a goblin, what a dire, terrible existence that was. Not to make light of like suicide or anything, but it was like, why do you exist? Why are you fighting for this existence? Like you went from a banal existence to a horrifying existence as a weaponsmith for people who keep you enslaved. Like it's not fun. Mm-hmm. What I do like about Changeling is you get to be a different type of actor in scenes. I tend to play what are the Middle Eastern ones? I always forget. Ishu and Chloricon. Mm-hmm. Those were the two Kith I played the most. I like being able to poochie out, and I like to be able to butt into scenes that I wanted to be involved in, and I loved Wayfarer. I liked being able to enjoy scenes for what they were, and I do like how they make death bad, and that has teeth. Like, Diablerie is easy to avoid. Just killing folk is real bad. You shouldn't be killing people.
It is character. Two things. One, character death is actually less on the table, but personality death is much more on the table.
All right, your character might even get some benefits.
Yeah,
but if you're just gonna start mowing down innocent people, you're not gonna survive. You have to be a more moral type hero, and you have to play to your sort of niche. Now, that can seem comical. Mm-hmm. Like, the Slua, I think, were changed in ways some I like, some I don't like, because they were also the tie-in with Wraith from Changeling the Dreaming. And I don't see that as much.
They pulled back on that.
They didn't pull back on it with the Giovanni or the Strider, so I'm not entirely sure why they pulled back with it on the Slua. Because I do like Wraith, even if no one ever plays the fucking game, I would like it to exist as a supporting genre, because it adds a lot. Niggy's not here to tell me I'm wrong.
Let me.
There's a lot of questions about trolls.
I know. We'll get there, guys. We'll get there. What I love about Changeling the Dreaming is a lot of what I love about Apocalypse. It lets you do a lot of the things I love about Apocalypse, but against a brighter contrast, a brighter font. The things I love about Apocalypse, the interactions of working with people to fight a fight you don't think you can win, is a big part of Apocalypse, fighting the eternal battle. In Changeling, it's a little bit different. Why is it different? It's a little bit different because the fight isn't quite as hope. Hope is more on the table. Werewolves are trapped in an eternal Autobots versus Decepticon war that's never going to end and is never going to be accomplished, and that's the best possible scenario. Apocalypse is a nihilistic game at its core. Because
it's just going to keep happening. It's been going on. It's baked into it because it's a war that's been going on forever. You've been reborn countless times. Nothing has changed. It's good guys versus bad guys. It's Cobra versus G.I. Joe.
Right.
And
there's no escape.
The best case scenario is that you keep fighting forever. The worst case scenario is you lose and everything goes to hell.
Yeah.
There's not really this hopefulness of then like Gaia wakes back up, all the trees are happy, and it's like cartoon land.
Well, the characters who even choose to believe that are a joke in Werewolf, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean they're literally just not something taken seriously. Whereas Changeling is a game that has room for hope. It has room for desiring a future where things don't suck quite as much, which isn't on the table in Werewolf. It just isn't. Because
death and killing has a lot more teeth to it in Changeling. I also think there's more room for role-playing these issues.
Well, there's more room for establishing long-term antagonists, which as storytellers is great. And the problem is in Werewolf is that you can always just kill the guy. And in Changeling, that's less of a thing, because the penalties for killing somebody, no matter how evil they are so onerous that a lot of times it's not even worth it. And that gives you more room to establish interesting antagonists.
Imagine a vampire game where the only way you can kill an NPC was Diablerie.
Yeah,
otherwise they came back.
Yeah.
That's sort of closer to what you're dealing with. You would have to be very Johnny on the spot about how you planned everything. And Changelings aren't ruthless. they're not that highly organized. Of like, you murdered this guy and I won't be in the room. Then I'll murder a different guy later and you won't be in the room. And this way we can get more murders done.
Right.
It's not really...
The other thing is, for a lot of changelings, their goal, unlike the more parasitic relationship of vampires and werewolves towards humanity, is they exist in a lot of ways to help people. You know, and this is less true with the Unseelie, and even less true with the Shadow Court. But in a lot of ways, changeling, you can play a white hat without feeling like a total hypocrite in changeling, which I think is nice. I think that's a value add. I also really just enjoy the social dynamic. I know the medieval dynamic doesn't do a lot for some people. It's a very alien way of running things. People aren't always comfortable with that vassal relationship. But at the same time, that courtly thing of having kings and queens and courts and dukes and all that stuff, I think that adds a lot to the world. I think it's really cool. Because you have, like, this dynamic of, like... Okay. In Werewolf, you have, like, a warrior society of warriors who hide somewhere in their little cells and do warrior shit and run their warrior cult, which is really fun. But changelings are maintaining, like, this little bit different, again, a little more hopeful in secondary society of kings and heroes and knights and warriors. And it sounds lighter, in a lot of ways it is lighter, but because you have light, it gives you a deeper, stronger contrast to the villains. A lot of times in Apocalypse, if you file the names off, it's hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys.
Well, they are all tainted killing machines.
Right. Whereas in Changeling, you have a stronger dynamic between good and evil. And having that on the table gives you a lot more as a storyteller and a player, in my opinion. I'm a little leery about that. You're the dynamic Forsaken, where you're strongly penalized for not letting opponents live. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But the other thing is that death isn't quite death in Changeling. Chimerical death is a different thing than death. So there are situations where... How do I put this? Where you might kill somebody, they're gone for a year, and then they pop up the next season. Again, I think that's cool. Especially if you're dealing with a chimerical baddie. Now, I understand players do have an impulse to finish things off forever and just be done with them, and, like, I will take the 10 XP hit and just kill this guy. That's always going to be something with players who have that view of story and just want to end storylines and be resolved on them.
Part of playing RPGs is being murder hobos.
Yes.
Who are like, I kill him what falls out. Is it a cool sword?
I guess that's the point, is that Changeling Changeling does try to pull you away from being a murder hobo. Whereas Werewolf doesn't. Werewolf wants you to be a murder hobo. And I think that's cool in a lot of ways. But having a dynamic pulling you away from being a murder hobo and giving you something to do besides murdering everything is kind of cool. Like, well, yes, somebody could take the hit, but if somebody walks into a room with 10 bad guys, are they going to destroy themselves forever to kill those 10 guys? No. Because their character would be dead if they did that.
I do think that the most important part of Changeling, from when I played it, is keeping the scope of the game compelling to the characters involved in the game. Mm-hmm. And because the characters are closer in a lot of ways to... They're dealing with a lot of personal things that involves a lot of personal RP.
Yeah, all that family and family dynamics in Apocalypse is there even brighter in Changeling. Yes.
You are still part of the world in a way that you simply aren't in any other game. Mm-hmm. Not even, because Mage is a fucking train wreck. It's never gone into Mage. I know people who like it, and I respect their opinions. I'm not on it. I feel about Mage the way he feels about Wraith. Mm-hmm. It could never be played again. I wouldn't miss it. Mm. But your family still matters to you. You're definitely in two worlds. Vampires aren't really in two worlds, especially in larger games. You're only gonna deal with
That's a huge point, especially when this moves more towards changes in the alpha slice, is that we have changes that allow more adult characters and players who are balancing those two worlds more carefully than was allowed in Shining Host. And that, yeah, I mean, a lot of times you're gonna have to have a job. Bucky, you're not a software philosophy major? Question mark.
No, I only minored in it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I like philosophy. I don't like the endless discussions of it that Mage causes that infinitely derail games. Mage is a different story. If they make a BNS Mage, I'm sure I'll have a lot of scathing critiques and ideas that might make it workable, but I'd be interested to see how the hell they pull that off.
But the big things is let's just talk about the big the big changes that to the world that we appreciate as storytellers and players. Is first off, child characters are gone. Those were a huge part of the previous game, where 2/3 of your character were children. That's gone.
That was the number one nope.
And the second thing is, and I don't like to use this word facetiously, but there's no other way to say it, is the game does seem less rapey than it was originally. And when you have those two elements together, that's just that dog's not going to hunt in 2017, and it shouldn't have hunted then. It's just the game seems to be less problematic sexually now.
I don't know who published Aphrodisia or who I can personally blame for it, but I don't like them. And if it was you or somebody you know who's a dev, let them forever be shamed and keep that private. It was so overpoweringly gross, and it made so much of Changeling. Even if you weren't directly involved in it, even if you saw it just being used and that was an aspect of the game other players were playing with, the creep factor was out of control on that.
I mean, in our local games, Changeling, we tried to run Changeling locally like 3 times, and almost every time it imploded because of, and this was, we were younger, we didn't know any better, was underage players, sexual situations, things getting out of hand.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
I wasn't even directly involved in any of that. I'm like, I just don't like being at this session. That was enough to drive me away.
No.
The creep factor was out of control. And thankfully I get to say that they have excised the creep factor pretty much. We're left with the same things that can be abused in a lot of the other games, like dominate and any powers like it,
but not powers that specifically like
you love me. Like, I don't want to play that. That's creepy.
Well,
I'll even play a blood bond. I've played ghouls like who don't have unbondable. That's fine. I don't like it as a power that can be wielded by an 8-year-old. That was a terrible combination.
So let's talk about what's actually in the alpha, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're skipping ahead through some of it. We're just going to jump around a little bit. We have we have 5 kits represented. Of this, the boggins really, really shine. I was surprised.
They made them way more important than just sweepers.
Yeah, the boggins traditionally were not seen as a very important kit, in my opinion. What they did with the boggins is awesome. We're going to get through this, but the boggins are... You want to have them in your motley. Not only that, but you might want to play one. They're awesome. The red caps stayed as the red caps. The red caps are your murder hobos. I mean, there's no other way to call it. They're your murder hobos. That literally should be their subclass.
No, I feel honestly like they gave a little bit of that to the Slua and sort of changed the nature of the Slua, because I also think that sort of role has changed in the zeitgeist.
Well, the red caps are your cheap horror movie villains. The Slua are the things in the dark.
They're in Wraith terms, they're your haunters now.
Yeah.
I mean, they even opened their first word is frighteners, which I mean, TM.
Yeah. The She. I'm not entirely happy with where the She are in the Alpha Slice, and we can go over that a little bit as we go through it. But the She are the High Elves. Those She are Tolkien's elves. There's no other way to really address them. That's what they are. In a lot of ways, the way Changeling the Dream was originally built was they were the stars. They were the werewolves of Werewolf the Apocalypse. The whole meta plot.
Everyone else was Farah.
And everyone else was fair and supporting.
Like, if you were not playing a She, you basically were a supporting cast member of a story that you did not matter that much to. It was all dependent on the She.
And I think when you see things like how the nobility has been opened up, you'll see that the She are less central than they were, which is an improvement. The Slua, as we said, are assassins and spies, and they only talk in whispers.
It's a hard thing to RP.
It's harder for a storyteller when you have like 5 Slua in the room, like I did in the alpha test, and everyone is whispering like, "Oh my god, guys!" I mean, I think it's a really cool RP thing, but
I will say this: I played a Slua, if you could believe that. Even though I'm loquacious and loud and boisterous and bordering on being a flibberty gibbet, it's close. they can be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I loved playing a Slua Grump.
Mm-hmm.
Get a job. Your family misses you. You're never gonna go pro. Like, you get to really rain on a lot of people's parades in a way that matters in Changeling that is just hilarious in real life.
If the Shi are the nobility of the Changeling world, the Trolls are the knights. The Trolls are your warrior class. And they're really, really good at it. As we go through them, you're going to see that, at least in the Alpha Slice, the Trolls might be the scariest warriors in the World of Darkness in this Alpha Slice. Because they basically have Fleetness, Aegis, Puissance, but better. Like, they have improved Potence, improved Celerity, and improved Fortitude. It's pretty awesome. We'll get to them. So Trolls are as impressive as they should be. Well, when you think about it,
the difficulty there is a lot of these in the old system. I guess in Revised, one of the issues was, you could be a walking goblin in Changeling, but you can't affect anybody. But then they basically changed that to the point where it was like, or you could just spend a glamour and pwn them. And it's like, oh, that's not good. So I do think there does need to be some addressing balance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think there does. But, a lot of the balance comes from the fact that Changelings aren't going to have techniques or Elder Powers or a Rage track. What they have is a flexibility. But they are also, except for Trolls, in many ways, glass cannons. Trolls are much less glass cannony, but the Changelings do seem to be the type that they need to stay at a distance, they need to stay out of a fight, because they don't regenerate. They don't have a healing...
They'll just get punched in the face and be like, guys, somebody help me.
We haven't seen the final version yet, but it looks like if you break a Changeling's arm, his arm is going to be in a sling next session. Unless somebody heals them magically, which is cool.
I'm sure there'll be magical healing.
Oh, there is.
There always is.
There is magical healing, but it's not innate. You've got to work at it.
Right.
Seeming is rank. It just is rank. It's straight up rank. It's basically 1-to-1.
It does have an inverse relationship with power as you get older. I was a little flummoxed by seeing the rank of oh my god, I'm not wordsing good today. Of Eidolon, because I know it is a Wraith term, and I'm like, guys, use something else, god damn it, leave something for Wraith BNS that 5 people want to play. But yeah, it's rank, but your pool goes down as your rank goes up.
Well, your trade cap still goes up, just like in every BNS game.
Right, your glamour
pool goes down. Which means you're winning more chops, but you can throw less of them.
I think you start with more angst. Or, not angst.
Banality.
I'm sorry, banality. Yeah. Totally different.
Backgrounds are backgrounds. The realms are really where Changelings are going to shine. We're going to spend some time really talking about realms today, because realms are really interesting, and they really are the ace in the hole that Changelings have.
Well, it's what makes them the ultimate toolbox.
Well, they're
characters.
all rules breaking. The realms just break.
They let you break rules.
All the rules that you've learned in BNS over the last couple of years, we're going to break all of them.
Right. Do I have the proper realm? Cool. I don't have to pay attention to the social action cap.
Yeah.
I can just target you socially.
That's the thing that's happening. Yeah.
Right. This is happening. So you don't feel safe because you already beat a social challenge if somebody has the right realm.
Plus you can do things like hang spells, which is incredible. But we're going to get to all that. The arts, we'll go through the arts as we get to them. Same thing with glamour and banality. All right. Let's just go through. We're going to go through the kits really quick. You can read this yourself. We're just going to go over them in broad strokes. Boggins are amazing. Basically, Boggins are less shoe crafters and more gargoyles, I think is the best way to put it.
Well, they were... there was always this sort of mental image of the endless throngs of boggin peasants who just were littering up the place, or cleaning the place when nobody was looking. Who existed basically for the downtime as the ultimate supporting characters, and the only way to really play them was to be like, I'm sick of your shit. Like, I'm going to turn into a giant and punch you in the face. I've had enough of your noble garbage. They've crossed them with some of the other kits from Revised.
They were just the best seneschals to have. Like, the best guy to be taking care of.
You want them around.
Yeah. And as we go through their powers, you're going to see the incredible things they can do. Because they're really cool, and they're very different from anything else I've seen. We're just going to zoom through a lot of this really quick. Again, you can read all this. I encourage you to. It's really good stuff.
The Secrets as Currency thing, I think that BNS sharpened its sword with the Bastet and a lot of that other stuff, where I think people know how to do that now. Just talking about sort of the listserv issues of the Coelacanth and the Corax. I think the LARP and the organization can reflect that well.
And let's talk a little bit about Seelie versus Unseelie versus Shadow Court, which is the three-way dynamic that's really at the core of the game right now. I know some of this is reading between the lines, but before we go into the kits, I think it's important to talk about this three-way dynamic. Basically, the Seelie versus Unseelie has always been order versus chaos. That is the straight axis which they function on. Where the Seelie court of changelings, which traditionally was the court that was in charge, it believes in order, light, justice, nobility, and honor. They exist to be the shining host. I mean, literally.
Yes.
They're the whitest of white hats. The Unseelie were often played as bad guys, but that isn't really the way Unseelie rolled. Unseelie are more about chaos, unpredictability, Loki, just being trickstery and chaotic. So that is that was always the dynamic between the base courts. The dynamic that's been added on top, and again, this is reading between the lines a little bit, but there is stuff in here about this, is the Shadow Court. The Shadow Court was a sub-faction of the Unseelie originally. The Shadow Court believed in, well, survival. The Shadow Court believed in survival at any cost. And they were the ones who would work openly with the Sabbat. They were the ones who...
They were in Team Black Hat.
Yes, super Black Hat.
The great overarching mustache-twirling villains Union 405 that showed up at Pentex and clocked in and were like, are there any horrible weapons or terrible things we could do to people en masse today? Let's workshop that out.
Because the Shadow Court's overwhelming goal is to get to Endless Winter as quickly as possible, which is where we are now, so that we can survive it. As our story starts with BNS Changeling, we are in winter. So in Changeling, there's a concept of seasons. Spring, summer, fall, autumn. You know how seasons work. And Changeling revised...
It's punchy.
Yeah. In Changeling, in the original Changeling, we were at the end of autumn, where the Changelings were trying to hold on to try to stop winter from happening. Because they believed it would be an endless winter that would never end, that would lead to the extinction of Changelings. The Shadow Court does not believe this. The Shadow Court believes we have to get to winter as quickly as possible and survive it. As our story opens, much like, I believe it's year 4 or 5
For the
of
lay
Harry
people
Potter.
out there, you might say things like, that's how you get to spring.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have to be that evil to believe that.
So at this point, the Shadow Court seems to have seized control of the Concordia, the kingdoms of the Changelings. The Shadow Court is currently in charge, which is kind of hilarious because the Black Hats are now in charge of everything, at least technically speaking. So a lot of the dynamic is the Seelie versus Unseelie, while dealing with the fact that the Ministry of Magic has taken over the school. I mean, that is honestly the best way to analogize it.
Sure.
Is that
I'm not a Potter guy, but
well, you got the reference.
I know it in broad strokes.
Yeah. So that's the basic dynamic, and we're going to get more to this as we talk about them. But the things I want to talk about, let's keep going through this. This is, again, all great RP stuff. Break all this down. Calling upon the weird. This is a lot like your Krenos form for Changelings. This is where they call upon their badass and they go super badass. They look, instead of like themselves, they look more like traditional fairies and changelings and stuff like that. Yep. So Boggin becomes more wrinkled and weathered, and their eyes shine brightly with mirth. They become kind of hobbity. And they gain a +2 wildcard bonus in awareness, empathy, and stealth. Just +2 in all of those. And they gain a focus. In their case, perception or dexterity. Which is very, very strong.
Yeah.
It's really good. Frailties. Boggins always have to assist others. If they refuse to assist another changeling in need, they gain a derangement which persists for 30 days, or 2 sessions, whichever is longer. So, 2 sessions.
For most games, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. And their arts are Inglenook, Metamorphosis, and Soothsay. And their realm they get for free is Scene. So they just get this scene to start with, which is cool. Red caps are are your monsters. They're
primal. I think
I would
is
very
their
primal.
thing.
Yeah,
They're dealing with they're the Fae of primitive people, I guess, sort of.
Their frailty is they can't have the appearance focus, and they get +2 to brawl, intimidation, survival, and get charisma or dex for free. Again, very good. Dread, primal wayfare, and realm condition. Condition's very good. All right, the Shi are your
Who doesn't love contingencies?
Storytellers. Storytellers are the ones who don't traditionally love.
Who don't like that? You punch me? That's exactly what I planned for.
It's a lot is up to STs to really enforce that. The Shi are the High Elves. They have houses. A lot of ways they're like the Silverfangs. They have a lot of similarities to the Silverfangs. Or the Ventru, yeah. Anyways, we see their powers as we get through them. You'll see that they're very much super-powered Ventru. Okay. Shi gain banality faster than everybody else. This is their listed frailty. It doesn't really match up with the text box that's up here a little bit. We're an alpha. I don't know if this is final. I'm going to bet their frailty is going to change. They get Soothsay, Sovereign, which is Ultra Presence, and Wayfair, and they get Time for free. Yep. The Slua are they're Slender Man. I mean, they're even listed here as one of their local variants is the Slender Man. That's a good way to think of them.
They're supposed to be spooky and weird.
Or the Gentleman from Buffy.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're creepy. They do creepy crawly things. Fear has glamour.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of their thing.
Mm-hmm.
They get intimidation, stealth, occults. Mm-hmm. They get manipulation and perception. Their frailty is whispering.
This is actually really, but the thing is, it's not just whispering. They actually put some serious crunch behind it. Anything with a vocal component, they can only target within 3 steps.
Yeah, so you can't like shout to use their powers, which matters for I think Dread more than anything else.
Yeah. And they get the pop realm for free, which is cool. Trolls are trolls. I mean, you know what a troll is just by going through life.
Not the internet type.
Not the internet type.
This is the under the bridge type, sort of. Actually, no, not really. They're noble. I don't know. They don't like goats.
Their frailty is they can't violate oaths. Basically, they will lose their physical foci if they violate an oath until they complete a complex quest. Oh, by the way, the quest system's here, folks. That's right.
Who knew they'd work that in?
Yes, because Changeling needs quests even more than Werewolf does.
It's true.
Yes, the quest system is in Changeling, and we don't see the mechanics of it yet, but we do know that the quest system is here. Yay.
Yeah.
And see, Primal, Oaken Shield,
Oaken
and
Shield
Metamorphosis. Yeah.
They
don't get this. So Primal is not Potence, Oaken Shield is not Fortitude, and Metamorphosis is Metamorphosis. They don't get the celerity power. Okay, that's fine. And they get Fey.
I mean, celerity is closer to Wayfarer.
Yeah. So this is all.
It's not 1-to-1.
Yeah. So this is all stuff you know from character building stuff in the other games. This is all.
Yeah, almost all these like chapters. That if you already know the games, you can pretty much just skim them. I'd still look for differences because there are some. And again, I hope each game builds on the last one, and I hope a lot of the rules changes that end up in the final that are also fixes from the last game, I hope all of that moves backwards.
Yeah.
Like, I would really like to see some of the, like, hot fixes and patches, like initiative for downtime actions and sciences needing to be at 3. A lot of those mechanics from Werewolf, I think they just need to be ported in whole cloth to Vampire. I'm not sure if that's true in Vampire right now. Did they change anything?
What's that? Port back? No, but there's another book for Vampire being kickstarted soon, so it's probably gonna work a lot of that stuff back on with some new powers. Remember I said there's no healing? Well, they did give them one thing, and it's really weird. I don't know why Changelings are rage healing, but they can. Once per game session, a Changeling can spend 3 standard actions. Wow.
That's in the middle of combat. That's a month of Sundays. that is 2.5 forevers.
So you're expending 3 actions, so you're not doing anything for the next 2 everyman rounds. Bye. But if you can do that and spend 3 points of glamour, which for reasons we may discuss today is also brutal, you heal 3 levels of egg. And for the remainder of the game session, your max willpower is reduced by 1. This is nerfed so bad and is so expensive, I don't actually know why it's here. Nor why Changelings would have rage healing in the first place.
The way it stands right now, I don't particularly like it, but it's basically so you can theoretically get into a second fight in a session. Mm-hmm. That seems to be the issue, is getting into a second fight that session. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they have it. Mm-hmm. I think that other things will probably paper over it, and other healing powers will just be more important.
A lot of there's so many questions about the alpha, and one thing is healing, and the other thing is regaining glamour. The glamour system is conflicting. I don't think the glamour gaining system makes any sense yet. But again, we're in alpha. I'm not super concerned about that.
Glamour needs to be more scarce than just about anything else. Like, I'm trying to think what else was even close to glamour, and the only thing I can come up with was passions, as requiring observation and RP. But if there's a herd background or a bunch of ways to get glamour back, then a system built with scarcity in mind will then fall apart.
Well, the other thing, when we get to glamour again, we'll talk about this. But what's interesting is that the RP ways of gaining glamour back are incredibly difficult, while at the same time the ways to just refresh it are fairly easy. And so it creates a conflict that doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet. But I think, again, we're in alpha.
I think there's a lot of work to be done. And, well, it also depends on what they want to do. If they really want to push scarcity and make it really, really hard, that you have the glamour you start session with and don't really expect on getting more of that or refreshing it, that's fine. But you can't have both.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where it's incredibly hard to get via role-playing, but you can refresh it.
Now, changelings who don't have the Dreamer's background, and at this point I don't see why they wouldn't, don't have to spend a downtime action to collect their glamour each month. You have to burn one of your downtimes just to stay alive, basically. Which means a dot in Dreamers is mandatory right now. You can also spend 5 minutes out of game, and you gain equal to your Dreamer's rating once per game. So you can gain 5... No, keep
that's your herd.
Yeah, so you can gain 5 back in game. So keep that in mind.
I will say this, that the powers that they wrote are glamour intensive.
Yes.
There's powers that cost 4. Like, if you're rank 5, you have 10 glamour. Losing 4 is huge.
Here we go. Here's our rank chart. So this is where we are right now with the rank chart. As you can see, there doesn't seem to be a thing where powers cost more if you're casting something above your level. That doesn't seem to be in yet.
It might be there. Again, it might not be. Just might not have access to them because it could be more like gen and less like rank. That's perfectly possible. They can cut that either way. I'm not sure what they're going to decide to do.
But as you can see, as you get older, you do get more traits and you're going to win more chops. But your glamour does drop and your starting banality is higher.
And the standard sort of XP.
And the same XP stuff that we saw in Werewolf.
Which is good. I mean, one of the things, so since I'm homebrewing BNS, Wraith, and I may as well mention it. The system I was talking about is very similar. You get more angst as you rank up, and you get more traits, but you get fewer health levels as you basically become less and less alive and more just a ghost. Why, Sebastian Marley looks like a corpse covered in chains as opposed to a freshly vibrant ghost, that kind of thing.
So yeah, you get two one art at 2, the other 2 arts at 1. And you also get the Realm Affinity for free. Merits and flaws. Let's spend some time on these because as we know about this system, the merits and flaws are where things are going to start shining for your kits.
I also think you might see the most change between now and...
yeah.
I mean, just like in the alpha slice of
we saw a lot of
Werewolves,
changes in these, yes.
Huge number of things got turned into gifts, or from gifts into merits, or just completely whole cloth gotten rid of. Like the get merit that made anybody who fought a pack of get explode. If they took so much...
That didn't quite make
as
it.
a half step backwards, that got turned into a power that's still good, but not comically dumb.
Okay, so apparently realms are actually next, so we're going to talk about realms briefly. The cool thing about realms is you get 1 for free, and then your next realm costs 8, your next realm costs 16, 24, etc. So getting to 8 realms is never going to happen, unless all you're ever buying is realms and you have a long chronicle. So you're probably only going to have 1 or 2 of these to start, maybe...
Or if there's inevitably a general merit that gets you a realm.
Which there isn't yet. But let's talk about what
I said inevitable.
I know. Let's talk about the first one. So, Actor. So this is basically something that buffs up your actual power. So you spend a glamour on top of what you would normally spend for your power. And instead, once invoked, your cantrip, which is your use of art, does not count towards your target's maximum number of potential attackers. Yeah. Also, they can't use banality for a retest. Normally, you can give yourself some banality to get the retest instead of willpower. But the big thing is just I'm not going to worry about
around action cap.
Yeah,
that's pretty big.
Yeah, and this bonus can only be utilized against target once per round for each category.
Yeah, so
that is
That's a 50% increase in physical, but 100% increase in
social.
Yeah.
So actor is pretty amazing. Again, we're just breaking the rules.
250% more attacks.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
It's pretty great.
All right, condition. This is our contingency. Allows you to imbue your arts with complexity, logic, and in some cases trickery. Spend 1 point of glamour to invoke this realm. Speak your predetermined condition aloud. Then resolve the applicable challenges normally, if required, for the cantrip. You can choose one of the following. So you pick one. Bucky, cover these. I have to get a drink. We're back.
All right, so accept. You may choose a set of circumstances during which your power will not apply. So it works except on Sundays.
Or I create a chimerical bridge that affects everyone except Greg.
Right. If instead of taking effect immediately, the cantrip takes effect when you state a predetermined. So when the hourglass runs out, if you attack the queen, if you attack me, and it lasts for 1 day. Well, right. These aren't permanent contingencies,
right.
And 1 day may as well just say session.
Yeah.
And until you've done X. They're all very cool. They let you do a lot of creative things. Like they give some examples for clarity. If you steal anything is a valid condition, but if you are a thief is not a valid condition.
Right, you can't use it to check somebody for something.
Right, if you're secretly evil, you can't drink this. Like, or some other nonsense.
So Fae is the next one.
True magic, spend a point of glamour, invoke the realm. Once you do so, you can utilize the focus benefit for the cantrip enhanced by the Fey realm, whatever the benefit might be, regardless of whether you possess the focus or not. So, if you think of versatile as already one of those almost de rigueur merits, then Fey might be the realm for you.
Yeah, the Spirit Vessel versatile packet that a lot of players pack in Werewolf, Fey really replaces that. And it's pretty great because you don't need to set yourself up to have a specific focus. This just gives you the focus.
Yeah, you could just make it part of your kit. That you just have the focus for whatever you need it for at that time. It's pretty great. Again, it's one of those things that's toolboxy, I think, is sort of
the system really does seem to reward being clever.
Yes, more than just having one power that solves all problems.
Yeah.
Other than Sovereign.
Nature, yes, other than Sovereign. Nature. Invoking this realm allows you to apply your effects to non-sentient animals and objects, affecting their animal consciousness or functionality. Spend 1 point of glamour to invoke this. Once you do, you can target a single inanimate or non-sentient animal with your powers, affecting it in the same way a human or supernatural. This power may be combined with the invocation of the scene realm, allowing you to affect additional targets. For example, you can Heather Bomb to heal a tree, or exercise the power of Sovereign over a pod of narwhals. Thanks, Jeff. Or make use of Dreamcast to include if computers truly dream of electric sheep. So you can use Sovereign to make a door open.
Yeah, well, there's still an object issue, object vehicles. There's things that aren't really well defined in BNS that are kind of an open problem. This lets you hand wave a fair bit of that. The old revised power of Open Seal for Ragabash was like it was the spelled knock as a bunch of other sort of applicable uses. Basically, you could use it in ways that STs would let you use it, unlocking things, opening doors, etc. This just makes it more one-off. So you can fix things, break them, etc.
Prop.
Now, I thought prop was more like nature, and nature was more like prop. But spend a point of glamour, simple action to invoke. Separately with you may invoke separately without using cantrip. As you do, select the art to which you want to attune your prop. Once you do, the target prop gains chimerical properties. And it's more impressive. It lets you on-the-spot enchant, basically. For the next hour, you and only you may utilize your prop to enact one of the powers of your arts by making use of the item's standard functions. This activation requires you to expend an action. As you do this, your testable benefits from the item qualities during the opposed challenge. So your accurate enchanted gun will be even better at hitting than a regular one.
Or things like, I guess, put it... Well, no, not even gun. You're using brutal on your social powers. For getting exceptionals. And
I think small ball.
Yeah.
They're deadly. My deadly brutal wit. You can only target items with prop if they possess some plausible connection to the art being used. My tie, so impressive. This cravat, how did he tie that knot? I want to listen to him.
And it has to make sense, and it goes away after you get knocked out.
Yeah, well, they say don't use Sovereign with a gun, but again, a fancily tied cravat. I think it could
Scene
work.
is another great rule breaker. Spend a point of glamour to invoke this realm. Once you do so, you can apply your cantrip to 2 additional targets, providing they are valid targets for the power and within range. Effects that would normally target only you can be applied to additional targets.
This is pretty much straight out of Revised. Do you want to hit a lot of people? Get Scene.
Yeah.
It's your AoE.
Yeah.
I do like how you can't have all of these, and they're all good.
Yeah.
None of them are like, eh.
Time, I'm not sure, but the use of time. Time's effect, prolong just makes sense. It gives you an extra 50% bang
Contract doesn't.
Contract doesn't make sense
I don't
yet.
see what possible benefit.
Especially because all powers can be turned off with a simple action. So
Right.
I'm not sure what Contract does yet. I like the idea, but maybe if it compressed the use of the power and give it some added effect or something by like concentrating it, like a 2 action, it's like a debuff.
It lasts half as
rounds.
long, but it gives you twice as many traits,
yeah,
or something. Like normally, this is like giving me +2 traits for 2 rounds. Because there's a lot of powers that give you bonuses for X amount of time. You could half that to make better, but I don't know. This seems like it's still cooking.
On the other hand, it does allow you an exception to powers that require your presence to maintain. Once you have successfully enacted a cantrip in combination with this realm, the effect persists even if line of sight is broken. You can imagine uses for that very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, even just the most obvious ones of like the entrancement doesn't wear off when I leave.
Yeah.
You still like me even when I'm not in the meeting anymore and have to RP that. But that crosses what we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
It certainly is the kind of thing you might want with Sovereign, and I think that she get time.
Yeah. You will see that the arts are limited in what realms you can use them with. So some of these arts you're not going to be able to use with specific realms. So you might not be able to celerity your friends.
Well, there used to be a build to use Wayfarer and the Quicksilver. I think was the level of the power to just basically everybody gets an action. Everybody gets 2 actions.
You're welcome.
Yeah, screw you, celerity. Everybody's going 3
you
times.
You get a car. All right. So chicanery is your not obfuscate power, but it does so many other cool things, and they can be used with these 5. They can be used with 6 of the 8 realms. So good.
They mixed Changeling, and they did again dip into Wraith for some of these powers because this is Fuddle is basically I think it's called Fuddle or Befuddle is the Haunter power.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's right there.
You create a simple illusion. The charisma focus.
You confuse somebody.
Well, yeah, but the charisma focus is great. Just take away their combat maneuvers.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Imagine a werewolf who's being told that they can't use combat maneuvers for the rest of the turn. That can be devastating, especially in the opening.
Yeah. Veiled Eyes is obfuscate too.
It's blur. It's all of those powers.
Fugue.
Super Fuddle.
Super Fuddle. It basically tells somebody to trance out. No, I'm sorry. That's not what this is. This is Forgetful Mind.
Oh.
Fugue
right,
is
memory.
It's Forgetful
Which
Mind.
is also the Kitsune power, if you're if you want to start comparing it to all the games. I don't know what Haunted Heart is. I didn't read everything of this.
You must gain your target's gaze and focus, and spend at least 5 turns describing the emotional its voice of madness.
Yeah, and I imagine
straight up voice of madness.
And the spec lets you do it really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just do it quick.
Yeah. So it's voice of madness, which is fine.
Cool.
Captive Heart is ungodly powerful, in my opinion. In playtest, I think this is too powerful for Changeling because you can kill a Changeling with this power very quickly by just banalitying them out of existence.
Yeah.
The example I gave was just, it's basically your love power. Making a post chop.
You could just make them do all the things that get them banality.
Yeah.
And then they don't exist anymore.
Right. Which gets around the whole, you can't do anything that harms you. That would protect a werewolf or a vampire. To a Changeling, Captive Heart you can just turbo them out of banality by just giving them a list of commands that causes them to burn through all their banality. So I think Captive Heart, because of Changeling, because of the power, because of the specific things to Changeling, is too powerful in Changeling. Especially because I don't think making somebody forget themselves is innately about banality, because you're not killing them. You're not taking a banality hit for that.
I think it is a lesser one.
Yeah.
It's not like actually ending them.
Yeah.
Dread, it's your fear power.
This is your fear power.
Sort of the other half of presence.
This is your, I believe, Slew of Redcap have this.
Yep.
And, so here we go. Scent of Fear. You gain some insight. This I know what this is. You get what their basic emotional state, how many points of willpower they have, and they have to tell you how many bedlam and derangement traits they have. You can also
their
get
current level of rage.
or beast traits. Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's a combination of it looked like was a Fatal Flaw and Madness of Volupta.
Yeah.
And it's in that light of like I use the power, I know stuff about you.
Level 2 Dread is Dread Gaze.
It's Dread Gaze, yeah.
3 is Dark. Dark Ambiance is actually I think this is actually really cool for just causing shit. So 1 point of Glamour to channel Dark Energy. When this cantrip is active, fear and madness come more easily to those within the area. Everybody gets a derangement trait. So everybody in the room who has a derangement gains a derangement trait. You all get one. Also, while in this power, any nearby mortals finds the target location disconcerting. They begin behaving erratically, disagreeing about whether to investigate, stay put, or seek help. Stock NPCs of rating 3 or greater are still frightened but act more rationally than stock NPCs 1 or 2. That needs to be more crunch.
It's there's a similar, I think it's a Red Talon power or Invoke Delirium. It's also harkens back to the days of Revised Vampire when you're was it Demontation, the one where you just yell and everybody goes bananas for your Malkavian anti-tribute. That was a fun thing.
Dread 4 is called Sleep Paralysis. It doesn't cause sleep paralysis. It causes sleep. It basically is the same as the Goral power that does the same thing. They go to sleep. They have nightmares. Yep. And once per day for the next week, if you have the focus, they gain 2 derangement traits when they awaken. Which I'm not sure how much effect that's going to have in the downtime, unfortunately.
It might be maintainable, sort of like Lingering Malaise, but that would mostly be for tormenting NPCs as opposed to other PCs, which Lingering Malaise is definitely more geared towards.
All right, and next up you have total. And next up, Waking Nightmares total.
It's TI.
It's TI. Yeah. And I'm not dismissing these powers when we say that they're those things, but yeah, they're good. Inglenook is the Boggin power. Inglenook is awesome. All right, level 1 is not that impressive, but you just know what somebody needs. That's it.
Which can be played light, or it can be played Twilight Zone dark. What he needed was leather shoes.
So you can ask you automatically get their needs for food, beverage, or rest. You can also ask the target, "What do you need at this moment?" And they must answer truthfully, but can do it in exceptional.
And hopefully, it's not information for my Shadow Court Masters.
Yeah,
depends on how honest you want to be.
If you have in focus, you get a +5 to use of of any attempt to help them. This bonus applies to non-supernatural static challenges only.
So first aid.
First aid, yeah. It's a fun level 1. Level 2 is Heather Bomb. Heather Bomb is your healing power.
And because Boggins have it, you want Boggins.
Yeah.
Because healing is an issue for Changeling.
This is expensive healing. It's 1 point of glamour for 1 point of healing. But given the way that the game is set up, this is actually pretty huge. Master of the House. Okay, Master of the House might be is a really great kill box power. It also has a lot of other great uses. But yeah, Bucky, can you read this a little bit?
It's spend a point of glamour, powerful enchantment over a building for the next 12 hours. You control the destination of each door in the building. To make your selection, spend a simple action. Choose 2 doorways to switch. If you're familiar with the affected location, doorways do not need to be within your line of sight. This is an exception to that rule. Thereafter, traversing, if somebody tries to flee out the back door of their kill box, and they walk right back in the front door,
or just putting them into your murder room.
Right, or this door leads to my kill box.
Yeah. And now that door out leads into a blank hall. It's an amazing kill box power. It also is just a really cool power.
It doesn't have to be used for murder. It could also be used to just save you and make sure that you can't be pursued. You can do the sort of
you cut off pursuit.
Neverworlds or Other Worlds, that Rutger Hauer movie that I think is somewhat underrated. They walk through a door into another reality, and then the person charging in after them just sees an empty room because magic.
Yeah. And then with wits, you can name somebody as your seneschal who can choose to either operate the affected doors normally or traverse them to their altered location. They get to choose. This individual does not be present at the time of the power's activation. Alright, Civil Interdiction is a new power. It's sort of like Majesty. It's just, if you want Majesty to be more expensive and better in every way.
Yes.
Basically, can you break this down? It's a lot of text.
Well, it seemed to me that it was similar to some of the scene stopping powers of like everybody just needs to talk and not do combat. I forgot what the Gera gift that does that is. It's similar to that.
It's very similar to Majesty, except it affects your group, not just you.
Yes.
And breaking it doesn't break it. If somebody breaks it with a chop, they still have to try to break it every time they want to get through it again. So as long as you keep it up, and it is super expensive to keep up, you have to spend a glamour every round. If you can keep spending,
you can make your opponents just exceptionally bad at combat. Well, you exceptionally better at surviving.
And with Wits Focus, +3 to dodge and survival.
Yep.
And then Restore Vitality. It's expensive, but holy shit. Spend 3 points of glamour. They heal all their health levels. They're freed from any melodies. They reverse
also poisons and toxins, which can't be used outside of 1 merit.
Cure any non-terminal diseases and remove unwanted alterations to the target's physical form.
Well, this is how you kill those broken bones and severed limbs and whatnot, because otherwise changelings don't have a way of dealing with it. If somebody lops your arm off, and you don't have a boggin with Restore Vitality, you have a new flaw. You have 1 arm.
Also, it can also turn off a power like Dread, Chicanery. One assumes Dominate, Geese, anything with a lasting power over them, you can just turn it off. That's amazeballs. I'm going to check in chat for a second. But
it checks the range.
Yeah. But that is an amazing power.
Where are we? Majesty plus Defensive Hearth.
It specifically says they won't do self-harmful... Okay, jumping back to check the code a little bit. They won't do self-harmful things. That's a question of whether banality is defined as a self-harmful thing. I'm not sure that it is. Makes to be clear. The text of Ambience of Dread actually makes you...
saying things like attack your friend for a changeling is either... It's perfectly kosher and Dominate in other situations, or
it's
Demontation.
It's the same text as Dominate. Yeah.
Right, so if you can tell them to attack their friends, or even an innocent person or stock NPC, I guess your mileage varies on your ST.
My only point is, in the special situation of Changeling,
attacking random stock NPCs and ending them is terrible for a changeling. In most vampires, it's not even going to slow down their day.
Or you can just tell them, to walk into an art museum and destroy all the art.
Yeah.
Don't worry, security's taken care of. You're in absolutely no danger.
Just go into the local art museum and just destroy a bunch of important pieces.
But the counter argument that he's making is that if forcing somebody to gain banality counts as a harmful action, then the power flips from being way too overpowered
to being just a toolboxy sort of geese type thing.
Well, especially because if you can't do anything that makes them gain even 1 point of banality, then you're very limited in what you can do.
You have ultra dread gaze. You should leave.
So the power is actually problematic from either my reading or your reading. Both readings cause problems. Okay. Majesty plus Defense of the Heart. Yeah, that power is ridiculous.
What do you need? A friend.
Oh! They have a shitty healing power, then a crazy powerful one. Yeah, Shane the Slubber don't have a power that good, right? Anyways. Oaken Shield. Okay, Oaken Shield is better fortitude. Remember, if your character has the powers, you gain all the powers of the lower ones.
I'm not going to say that it's better fortitude.
It's different.
It has some differences.
Well, yeah. First off, you gain the extra health levels from the stamina focus, just like fortitude. Alright, level 1. No wound penalties.
You have Ignore Pain.
Also, your clothing and armor always appear perfect and fresh.
So fresh and so clean.
Level 2, +3 to defensive test pools when resisting range attacks. In addition, whenever you take ag, test it down to non-ag. Keep that in mind. 3, you may DR1. Yep.
And here's the thing: you can use it as a glamour sink to basically heal, but then it becomes a glamour sink.
Yeah.
Which
you may spend
it is better, but that is a cost.
Yes.
And glamour, if scarce, or even if you just only have 10 for any given combat, you can only sink so many heals.
Mm-hmm. But at 3 we have a dodge bonus, and we have a healing, and we have DR1. Okay. Regeneration.
It's DR2.
Now in 4 we're in DR2.
Yeah.
Alright, you may convert 1 point of ag to normal. So we get another. So this allows you to convert 2 points of ag to normal, in addition to stellar. So we have DR1 and 1 ag to non-ag.
Yeah.
You can also spend 2 points of glamour to heal a point of ag. I don't know why you would ever do that, actually. Unless you were in a really bad situation, I would just wait.
It depends. This is very situational. I like that they have the option, but it is expensive.
Yeah. At 5, they get full DR2 and sort of personal armor built in.
Yeah.
All melee weapons or inanimate objects that hit you break. Weapons destroyed by this inflict damage before they break, but they cannot break. The destroyed weapons bludgeon instead of pierce. You cannot be stabbed. Range attacks that do not actually strike their flesh are unaffected by Wisdom of Stone. So now we have DR2, which is full fortitude, and on top of that, weapons that hit you break.
It's really good power.
So fortitude plus. Next up, Metamorphosis. This is another troll power. Mental.
This is trolls and boggins, I believe.
First one is Wild Tongue.
Talk to animals.
It's beckoning. It's the first 2 levels of animalism. You can talk to animals, and you can summon them.
Yep.
You know how this works. 2, Impersonate.
It's Coyote's mantle.
Mask.
And mask and all that.
Yep. 3, Go Ask Al.
That's fine. Again, we're not saying that dismissively.
No.
It's that type.
You know that power.
Coyote's mantle wasn't like super new to werewolf. I mean, it's Mask of 1,000 Faces. It's all.
Yeah. Go Ask Alice is the Fiona merit, where you can change your size to 3 times bigger or a third your size. So get 3 more healthy levels. Good.
Or get a dodge bonus.
Or get a +3 dodge bonus.
I'm sorry, stealth bonus.
Yep. It's good.
I'd like it better if it was dodge.
5, Merlin's Game. This is 1,000 forms.
Yeah.
I mean, this is straight up 1,000 forms. And 5.
But it's a level 4 power instead of a level 3 because werewolves are better at changing shape than changelings are. Mm-hmm. Although, it does also go back into the Slua thing, which was constantly the joke that the whole tragedy of the Slua is they lost their ability to change shape unless they learn Metamorphosis. In which case, yeah, they can change shape. Like everybody who has Metamorphosis.
Mystic Transformation. Now you're a dragon. It's better 1,000 forms.
It's bordering on Wild's Undreamt Fury,
yep.
In that it's 1,000 forms plus you get something cool. Does one of them make you? Yeah, you're immune to grapple. It's a very similar list to Wild Undreamt Fury. This is an ultimate form type power.
Yep. Next up, Primal, which is your not potence. Again, they're different, but that's what people describe it as.
Yeah.
Also, if you have Strength Focus, and you have at least 1 Primal cantrip, you get +2 to all melee and brawl dodge pools. That's a nice little bonus.
It's potence's bonus.
Yep. I know, I'm just...
I'm
Will-O-Wisper. You can talk to things.
It's Auspices 3, sort of.
Yeah.
And various magical powers that let you do this, which isn't potence-like. Just throwing that out there.
Yep. Alright, you call upon the earth to boost your strength. Spend 1 point of glamour in a simple action to plant your feet. For the next 5 minutes, or until you move 3 steps, you are immune to knockback. In addition, you automatically inflict 2 points of damage instead of 1 when you hit.
Exceptional 3. This is your 2/3.
Yep.
This is your potence 2.
Yep. Basically.
But it is limited. You're rooted. You're not.
You can't
you're
move
not
on and do
as good at the punchy as like a Brewhawk.
Mm-hmm. Alright, you can now animate an object within your line of sight. The object gains limited mobility and obeys your commands. You can give these objects simple commands, such as chase that man, or attack anyone who enters. Objects aren't very smart and have extremely limited reasoning. A command stating, bring me the gun when you see a red car drive past outside, could result in a very confused bar stool. You can animate and simultaneously control a number of objects equal to the number of dots you possess in a cult, but each object must be animated separately. They remain animated as long as they're within line of sight. Treat objects animated as stock 2s. Animate objects with wheels move at normal rate. Objects without lights go at 1 step per action. Animated objects cannot be targeted by mental or social powers, and cannot attack anyone. The caster cannot attack herself.
It's also worth noting this doesn't have a focus written on it, so we'll probably get one where they're either higher stock or some other bonus or whatever.
Oh, by the way, you also get a... I like the by the way. You also get +5 to brawl or melee for the purposes of exceptional. NBD. 4. Dagda's Fury. You can draw directly from the strength of glamour in nature. Spend a point of glamour and expend your standard action when you touch somebody with the palm of your hand. If you succeed, the target is knocked back 2 steps.
It's falling touch and you exceptional 4.
Yeah, exceptional 4. Yep.
So it's a really, really painful fall.
Oh, it does. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
you really give them a slap.
Yeah.
Like a big slap. A knockback, possibly 4 damage slap.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is another one that doesn't have a focus,
Yeah.
because it's basically written like Potence.
Yeah.
Where they don't have focuses, but I think that... So this is a good and bad thing, right? Because they wanted to mix and match the type of powers that are in it, and Focus, Celerity, and Fortitude don't have focuses because the focus is the same focus for all of them. Stamina is Fortitude, Strength is Potence. However, the animating stuff should probably have a focus. Like, I know it doesn't entirely fall in line with the rest of the power, but it should probably be like, if you have manipulation, it's stock 3.
See, now you go from 2/4 to 3/4, and it's egg. So, good.
Which is force,
Yes.
sort of.
Meh, sort of.
Well, it's
the Bruja Merit.
burning force.
Burning Merit, yeah. Let's check on the room again before we go to Soothsay.
See if anybody's even paying attention.
They are. It's Fortitude with an additional power in each level.
Yeah,
That's exactly Fortitude.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. It's slightly worse than Potence. Potence is 3/5. Yes, it's very slightly worse. And again, the reason these powers were intentionally made...
Potence is 3/5, but this is 3/4 in Ag.
Yeah.
So,
These powers, and I've talked to Andrew and the other guys about this. These powers were intentionally made slightly stronger than their versions in the other games because changelings are a bit squishier and they lack techniques and elder powers.
They also don't default work, right? You have to embrace your feyness, or you have to get them to eat something of yours, or invest them with glamour.
No, that's not it.
Embracing the weird or any of that?
No, that's not it.
I thought you had to possess the wild or whatever.
No, that's just for you to get an additional
that's
focus.
just for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not really a thing anymore. All right, Soothsay. Okay, they're going for that. They're trying to make Soothsay work. So let's see if it works.
It's one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
There's okay. Yeah. Please.
Okay. First of all, Face Sight. They get wolf senses.
Yep.
Congrats.
It's Auspices and wolf senses.
And you know how we feel about wolf senses. 2 is once again Spirit Touch.
Also primal.
At 2. 3 is Fate Fire. Fate Fire, a lot of people think Fate Fire might be one of the best powers in any game ever. Fate Power lets you, once per game session, spend a glamour to win a chop. That's it. I mean, that's all there is.
It's a spendable version of the 3-point Shadow Lord merit.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep. This is insanely powerful. It's one of those powers almost everybody's going to want to have, honestly.
I think, if any power is a power that you have to have, it should be nerfed into the ground.
Yes.
Like, this needs to be fixed.
This is probably too strong. Even this, I mean, I know the Shadow Lords didn't break it this time, and neither did the Sound Striders have this defensively. This isn't defensive.
Well, it's both, isn't it?
Yep. No, it's only defensive. It is only defensive.
I'm sorry, it's a spendable version of Sound
Strider
power.
1, not Sound Strider 1. Yeah.
Still,
sorry.
That's also a 3-point.
You know, I didn't.
Can
look,
we just throw that out?
I'm not looking, but I'm assuming the chat room is correcting us right now. But defensively, it's still just as do or gore, because you use this with the power to get the fuck out.
Still have to have it lets you win. Also, these don't have focuses either, so I would expect some more stuff. Expect everything, just like a werewolf, to have a attribute focus effect. 4 is Scry.
Yep. And 5 is fair is foul, foul is fair. This is a lot like a certain werewolf power. 3 points of glamour, simple action, lasts 10 minutes. You can observe any challenge taking place within 2 individuals, be able to recognize.
It's definitely not view the battlefield.
Once per turn, you may offer a +3 wild card to the test pool.
It's the Korax thing?
The Korax thing, yeah, the Korax cheating one. But they can do that. They give the +3 wild card every turn. Can the Korax do it every turn? I don't recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they can.
Nice.
And, I mean, they don't have view the battlefield to combo with this.
Right.
So it's a little bit different, but it is similar to...
Well, they have Scry. Scry's the level above it.
Oh, right. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But I don't think Scry lets them use your Laugh of the Hyena and things like that. It's different. It's good. It's a solid power.
All right, Sovereign is traditionally the most one of the more broken powers in Changeling. Let's see how Ultra Presence is looking these days. First off...
And you will notice that, like, for example, just because you're scrolling through it, Sovereign has 5 possible realms, not all... Was there 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
6. That's 6 of the 8.
Yeah. So there will be a couple of realms, generally, per power that you can't use.
All right, protocol. We're all suspend protocol. Spend a point of glamour in a standard action. For the remainder of the scene, you seem larger than life, more impressive, and everyone pays attention to you. So it's a lot. It's a little bit like awe. Doesn't really have the crunch to it. Then let's see.
It's got the crunch.
But
They get gaze and focus.
Yeah. Okay. They can still attack you, but instead they have to challenge you to a duel. Basically, everybody in the room has to obey the protocol of the situation you're in. This is we're in court, and we're going to act like we're in court. God damn it!
So instead of being just punching me, you should say something like objection, or if it's in a courtly situation, how dare you? And you
I've
throw
always
that
loved
at them.
protocol, and I always thought this was a power that belonged in every game to enforce people having to RP in situations. If you run into somebody in a back hall, this is not going to protect you. However, if you're in a meeting of all the other changelings in town and it's a formal meeting, this power is incredibly powerful. This is the definition of a courtly power.
It should get everybody to behave more. At least it does that.
I mean, they can ignore it for an hour with a willpower.
Yeah.
Which, as we always say about willpower...
Willpower is the clock.
Yep. And if they have appearance, they have to spend 2 points.
Yes, which is awe.
Yep. Dictum is dominate 2.
Yep.
1 word command. Grandeur is, I believe this is majesty. For the next hour, you're the apotheosis of your character's best nature. Anyone who wishes to attack you or be rude to you, it's straight up majesty. They get majesty at 3. So there's still 2 more powers above majesty.
Yeah. Well, and is there an appearance focus? Your majesty
Yep.
lets you ignore the majesty? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's straight up, yeah. Alright, contract.
Well, the sheer majestic.
Yeah. Level 4, yeah.
That's their adjective.
Majestic as fuck, yo. For the next hour, you involve a door, hallway, or room with the power and weight of your presence, blocking anyone from entering or passing through. No one can pass into or through the space affected by contract without your implicit approval. If you are present, you may give personal approval to every individual who wishes to enter. You may also choose to alter your use of contract to allow exceptions, such as individuals who belong to your specific kith, know the passphrase, or wear a specific house's color or crest. Exceptions cannot read the intent of individuals who attempt to enter. For example, you cannot choose to only allow individuals who do not wish you harm. Those who wish to challenge your authority over the contracted space to egress through the door or hallway or into the room must make an opposed challenge, social plus will versus your sovereign pool. If they fail, they cannot try again for 10 minutes.
Talking about another
Killbox power. Yeah. Lasts for an hour or 2 hours with a manipulation focus.
Guess who can't Chloricon out?
Guess who's leaving? Not you.
It's a short list.
Yeah. Geese. Geese is the exact same as in Werewolf. I do think it should be stronger, but it is the exact same as in Werewolf.
I think that's fine. I think what they did in Werewolf is what had to happen to Geese. For both she and for Philodox.
Yeah. Once again, we personally are of the opinion that making somebody spend willpower is enough of a punishment. I mean, we'll always feel that way.
Well, when you only have 6 with an option on a merit nobody buys of 7 willpower, I mean, who's the rolling crew who's going to mess you up? The entire pack of Black Furies? Yeah, they probably should, and they will. But everybody else is going to be like, all my defense pools go down? I'm just going to behave.
Alright, Wayfarer, it's celerity time. Alright.
This was easily the most powerful power in Changeling, bar none, to insta-jib anybody.
Good news. Alright. Hopscotch 1. When you spend glamour to activate your Wayfarer, you get the initiative increases by number of dots in Wayfarer. Okay, that's fine.
It's celerity.
And if you spend a second spot, you get 6 additional steps and a giant leap in any direction.
Yep.
You can roll a brawl attack. Yep. 2, Grace. +5 range attack for determining when dodging, +5 dodge. Also, for the next turn, you can climb any surface.
Yep. It's a combination of celerity and the combat maneuver unnatural grace.
Yep. Next up.
Although it's just grace, because it's not unnatural with them, because they're just that graceful.
Next one, Windrunner. Spend a glamour to fly, hover, float, moving at normal speed. While flying, you can carry 50 pounds of equipment for each dot you possess of occult. Windrunner may augment some other way for
It's going to be
gifts.
a lot, because I think Slua get this.
Yeah.
And they have occults high, and they can get occults even higher.
Yep. When activated during combat, you also get an additional, you get your celerity action.
Yep. Portal Passage is like, I think, every other teleport power, and expect the focus change.
Okay.
Right?
It allows you and others to pass it through any barrier up to 3 steps thick. To activate Portal Passage, spend a point of glamour to physically shape a chimerical door into the barrier. Lasts for number of turns equal to dots of subterfuge. Only you have the ability to open the door. So you just make a door. Chalk door. Flicker Flash, on the other hand. Just...
If traveling between scenes, which is fun. Are you in a time bubble? Cool, I'm coming. You may expend a point of glamour to eliminate any travel time necessary, as long as the journey concludes within the same city or general geographic area. So, your domain, basically. To others, you seem to disappear from one scene and appear at the other. When you activate Wayfarer during combat, you gain an extra round of actions. One simple, one standard. Resolve them during the Wayfarer round. So it is a teleport, like the best It's Bridgewalker.
Hey, welcome aboard. Well, first of all, using this power to get into combats. Oh my God, there's a mass combat.
I'm there, bro.
Yeah.
Well, this was. I hope the Ishu get this. Obviously.
Well, the Wayfarer, Ishu have to have Wayfarer, but the ability to just bamf into a combat, a power as general as Wayfarer 5, which you've got to imagine is a pretty general power.
That's Wayfarer 4.
No, it's 5.
Flicker Flash?
Where
were we?
Yeah, 5. Flicker Flash.
It's 5, yeah.
Yeah. It also... Oh, by the way, it also gives you extra
action. You used to be able to teleport people onto the sun. So, believe it or not, this is the nerfed version.
But that being said, the ability to teleport into a time bubble is incredibly powerful and can change everything about how a scene is going. So those are the powers we have right now. Those are the powers and the realms we're looking at.
I look forward to being another Ishu that has Flicker Flash.
Yeah. All right. Let's go through merit. We're just gonna, because we've already been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're just gonna go through the Kith powers, the Kith merits. So let's just go through these really quick, and then we're gonna call it.
We could. Do we need? Sure. We may as well. Let's get it done in this episode.
Yeah. We don't have to do another one. All right. Boggin merits. Boggin 1. You craft in a third the time.
Yeah. So it's downtime.
You also get 2 extra downtimes.
Yeah.
1 point merit. 2 extra downtimes.
And you spend a third of them.
Yep.
So that's a lot of downtimes.
2. Reach out of contacts. You may name 2 contacts.
And you get skill empathy. Skill aptitude
empathy.
So that's an extra possible dot of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
On top of 2 levels of contacts.
Yep.
It's okay. I mean, look, it's 2 point. If you want empathy anyway, which we'll probably want because they have powers that use empathy, it's a good one.
Johnny on the spot.
Spending a point of glamour, special token. Later time, anybody who holds token spends a black, speak your name, and may summon you to their location, provided you are unobserved. That's a little bit rough at section.
Mm-hmm.
Combat is taking place, you will
enter at the beginning of the next turn and act on your initiative. You will also appear with any mundane items the person who summoned you might require, such as a hot meal, a spare tire, a change of outfit, limited to what you can carry. Yeah.
They can't be unique.
Once you've completed whatever services you wish to render, you can just leave. So, bamf into combat for a round.
And then Chlorcon out.
And then get the fuck out.
Hey, here's all your weapons. Although not unique, so it'd be here's a bunch of weapons, and I'm out.
So, you want to you can basically use this to just allow yourself to go talk to the bad guy's ultra secret evil lair. Oh yeah, I'll talk to you, sure. Just use this and call me. Okay, yeah, I'm done here. Bye. Yeah. Like, there's so many cool uses for this power.
They have to be unobserved.
When they leave? No, they don't. That's
No.
What?
Provided you are unobserved in your current location, not grappled or imprisoned, you may choose to appear
at their location. There's no limitation on leaving.
No, not on leaving, but I'm saying on you. No, it's not an escape.
It is an escape if you set yourself up to be summoned into the scene. At the beginning of it. Which, why wouldn't you do that?
Right. This is a very gameable power.
Yep. It only costs a point of glamour. Yep, only 1 point of glamour, period.
Yeah, it's a whole power for a 3-point merit, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
I like it.
All right.
Red cap merit, dark appetite.
You can chew through anything, You can
bite without grappling.
Immune to poison.
And you get brutal and deadly on your bite.
Nice.
I mean, that's a hell of a lot that's gnaw and a bunch of other stuff for a 1 point merit.
2, you're immune to all fear-based powers. In addition, you gain an additional point of glamour when ravaging. We're not going to get to glamour tonight because we're running low on time, but this could be either useful or garbage. I don't know yet.
Right. But this could be the Ajaba you can eat dead flesh to get back Gnosis, which no one should ever take ever.
And exquisite taste is the one to go merit. As long as you've tasted their blood, you gain familiarity with the target for the next month. Thereafter, you automatically succeed in tracking challenge.
I actually think this is worse. The 1 point Wendigo power and their gift shits all over this, but there is no equivalent in Changeling, and they're not really great at target acquisition, so I could definitely see there being call for Redcap to take that.
Oh yeah, Ethereal Grace. You get the appearance focus. Congrats. You also can't be embarrassed. Any spell or cantrip that would cause you embarrassment fails automatically. This benefit extends to powers that rely on some degree of humiliation, such as Dominate for an embarrassing outcome, or the Werewolf Gift 5 for Dominance and Cheap Shot. They just don't work on you.
Oh, for Cheap Shot? That's great.
You can't kick a she in the nuts. The Dreaming will not allow you to kick a she in the nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Oh god. They're level 2.
Enchanted Life. It's Charisma. You're high ranking more. You get 10 dots that you can divide between the following backgrounds. Fame, holdings, influence, resources. These dots do not require you to spend XP. Wait, if you've assigned additionally the light... Oh, no. You know what, honestly...
It's 10 dots of backgrounds, man!
Yeah, backgrounds are... whatever.
You may also add your choice of one of the following equivalent
qualities
qualities to any
gear. You can't
gear.
have both. If you get the backgrounds, then you just... Yeah.
You can also add antique, artisan, flashy, or stylish to every miscellaneous piece of gear you have.
That's pretty great. You are Flash. True, you walk into a room and I want to hear the person describe why they don't have gaze and focus on you immediately.
Ancient Roots. Get a free realm. Because why not?
Remember when I said there'd be a merit to get a realm?
But this doesn't make the third one cheaper. So you get your... This is an 8, so basically that gives you that's 8 XP. So... It also increases your max glamour by 3.
Yeah, it's also wild affinity.
Yeah. So it's not that great. It's
pretty good. It's 8 XP and it increases your glamour pool by 3.
The glamour pool probably makes it worth it, truthfully. But the 8 XP isn't...
Especially if you're an elder, or whatever they're called. Legend.
Yep. Alright, Slua. Okay. They get the perception focus. They can also... they can pop their joints... and bend
5
themselves.
Contiguous on it. I think they meant continuous, but contiguous is also sort of true. Uninterrupted standard actions. You go wiggle and slime and whatever. You can get through any opening that says your head. It's rat head and a bunch of other powers.
Whatever. In combat, you can spend a simple to escape from a grapple.
Pretty great. It's a 1-point merit. Gives you a focus, and it lets you escape grapples.
Alright, Depth's Paramour gives you your choice of one of 3 powers. Carrion Fodder. Animals, guess what?
Creepy crawlies.
Yeah,
There's
you
creepy
can.
crawlies everywhere.
So you can talk to animals, and they will. You can call them.
And you get a 3-dot retainer.
Yeah, nice. Or you can make yourself weightless. In this state, you are capable of falling without taking damage, and you can walk or crawl on walls or ceilings at normal speed without making. So you can just do that.
That was a Slua thing.
Yeah, and Watery Grave.
You do not need to breathe while underwater. You can move through liquids at any rate that you do on land.
Also, fire does normal damage. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lurking Horror. It's...
Tracking abilities don't work on you. Period.
And some other stuff.
And scrying.
Additionally, you're able to utilize the chicanery cantrip Veiled Eyes to a much greater degree if you possess it. Individuals using Soothsay. This is work. For this aspect, you must activate Veiled Eyes before going to sleep. Weird.
It also works when you're asleep or knocked out.
Yeah.
Pretty great. Alright, Trolls. Hey, Trolls.
Get strength focus to 2 levels of health.
Yep, so another 2 healthy levels. They're just piling up.
6 healthy levels so far, just being a troll with a 1-point merit and the strength focus for the cost of doing business, because you know they're taking stamina focus.
Mm-hmm. Loyal Heart. Once per turn, you get a free retest for depending a power that would mystically sway or coerce you to break an oath. This is a strong argument to have lots of oaths.
Yeah, right?
This retest can be used before or after normal willpower retests. It can also be used during Wayfarer rounds, but can only be used once in a turn. And 3, Resilient Skin. You regenerate 1 point of normal damage a turn if you're an injured. If you have no remaining normal damage but still have an aggravated, you regenerate 1 point of aggravate damage every 3 turns.
It's the combat technique from Vampire.
Yep.
Similar to.
Yep.
Considering that it's a game where nobody can do that, it's pretty great.
Yep. So that's the basic. That's basically. Well, we went deeper there. There's more in there. A lot more merits. There's the courtly merits, and there's just a lot of good writing. That's the basic feel of the Changeling Alpha. You can definitely tell it's an alpha.
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I understand a lot of the things that they did or didn't do. That said, still going to be some balance fixes. I think they're I hope they add focuses to the powers that aren't prosaically potence, or celerity or whatever. It looks solid. I like that it seems, again, with some nerfing, seems playable. It's a different genre. It's a different kind of role-playing experience, which I'm always for. I like supporting all the genres that are out that help make the game better. This will also simultaneously enrich the other genres, because Fae aren't this undefined thing that you have to use like crossover stock.
Or just desperately keep them off stage, yeah.
Right, or just be like, we're not going to discuss Fae.
But the other thing I really like, and somebody comments on this, is that the powers are not uber boasted over Vampire and Werewolf. A lot of people are making it sound that way, but when you look at them honestly, remembering that there are no techniques or elder powers, or a rage track, or natural regeneration.
And bear in mind, the realm you start with actually nerfs a lot of these powers.
Right.
Or can. There's a cost of doing business to just be able to affect other people.
But I do think that you will find that, and I think this is what they're going for, is that changelings are incredibly flexible and good at breaking the established rules of the BNS system, which I think is really cool. And as we learn more about their political world, we'll talk more about that. That's what really interests me. And I think it's a cool game, and I think they're off to a cool start.
I think Endless Winter's a lie. It has to be.
That being said, for those of you who have stuck with us for 2.5 hours, God bless you.
I was going to say, are there any questions to round out the evening as we normally do? We didn't do our segment on how to improve gaming because we sort of tackled that at the beginning.
It's a shame we missed it.
There's a lot to be done. Everybody needs to be better. This is an ongoing battle that I think involves all of us.
All right.
For what it's worth.
So we're going to give it another minute for questions, and I think we're going to wrap it up.
I wonder if there's anything else I can ramble out about. Vote! God damn it. If anybody watching this spent 2.5 hours listening to us and didn't also fire off an email to vote for somebody, or 3 people, or 5 people, or just ham sandwich. Just vote.
Changeling Journey, more wild than APOC from this. This was always the plan. Year 2 was going to have a strong Fae plotline. That was always going to be the case. As we've told Fianna and Coelacanth players at different times, and I think it's right in their settings kits. If it's not, it's something I said a lot, is that the Fae are going to be important to the Apocalypse narrative going into Year 2. The fact that I knew that I would at least have an alpha in my hands when that happens is not a coincidence, and I think that's going to help us. But I do think you're going to see a strong Fae presence in the second year of Apocalypse.
Also,
just because it's a big story in the world that needs to be resolved. I mean, the story of Brone and what's going on with the fairies is important to the world.
Well, and from a werewolf perspective, Fae remain human gorgons. Fomori are worm-corrupted people, fused beings. Drones are weaver-corrupted, although there's no info on that in the setting. But intrinsically, the wild humans are the Fae. I mean, they are your equivalent of wild Fomori. When it's animals, they're gorgons. They're or things out of the bestiary.
What I find most interesting about the Fae in an apocalypse setting is that while their general goal is the same as the apocalypse players, their methods of getting there and their actual desired ends can diverge. Their means can be very, very different.
They're radically different.
Radically different.
The solution werewolves have to most problems is, and let's just be real about this, is their rage track. I mean, werewolves are more conflicted and tainted beings than changelings are. They get to tackle these fundamental universal issues in ways that werewolves just don't. Werewolves kill things. It's what they're really, really good at.
Yeah. As for the merfolk, once I know more about what's going on with the Selkies and their ilk, I can probably say more of that. But with this book, the alpha is silent on the Selkies and their cousins, so there's nothing to say about that right now.
But I mean, that's almost the inevitable tie-in if it comes out in time, and it's stuff that can be.
People love their sort of wereseals.
Every genre that comes out should make every other genre richer, and
that's been the case so far. Yeah.
And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for them business-wise because it sells more books. Because you want to have all the books. Because you want to have all the supporting genres. And you don't want to have to just dial them in with the stock rules.
We probably won't have another full Changeling episode till the next beta slice. The next beta slice comes out, or the next alpha slice comes out. So that's just basically where we are right now.
So that could be a feature or a bug, depending on how you feel about Changeling and how talking about werewolves has been suborned into talking about changelings for
This is twice now. Yeah, once when they announced and once now.
And once now.
I think it's,
and a little bit last episode.
I think it's very interesting if you jump back to say a lot of the things we thought the new Changeling would have to have in it. We were pretty much 100% on that.
Did some Facebook thread necro at that point, and look, we're just glad somebody's listening.
I think these were obvious things that if you really think about Changeling had to be there.
We're just saying if we inspired some things, we're flattered.
I don't think that's the case.
I'm just going to be flattered.
Okay.
And you can't take that away from me.
Okay, that's fine. That being said, it looks like the room is quiet. Guys, have a lovely 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we'll see you in October.
Thank you to all of our live viewers and to all the people who are going to listen to this in podcast and recorded form.
And we'll desperately try to grab Iggy back next time.
Yes, and have more guests. We really are working on expanding the show.
And not shrinking, although...
Right. Also, give us your thoughts on format. As we talk about more genres and stuff, is that good or bad? We want to be loyal to our viewers as well as...
And like us on Facebook! Okay, good night.